The clouds roll like slow ocean waves across the ridges of the Andes, curling and dissolving around green peaks that seem to pierce the heavens themselves. The morning air is thin, trembling with the distant cry of a condor, as sunlight slips across terraces carved into the mountain like the ribs of some ancient god. For centuries, these stones slept beneath the jungle's breath, unseen, untouched, waiting. And when they finally woke, the world realized it had forgotten something extraordinary. There are few places on Earth where silence feels sacred. Machu Picchu is one of them. Every echo here feels deliberate, every gust of wind like a whisper from the past. High above the Urubamba River, hidden in the folds of the Peruvian mountains, the lost city of the Incas sits like a dream balanced on the edge of the sky. It is both a monument and a mystery, a riddle written in stone and sealed by time. The question is not only how it was built, but why. Visitors who make the long, winding journey up the mountainside often describe the same feeling, a kind of reverent awe, as though they've crossed into another realm. There's a stillness that hangs in the air, a pulse that seems to hum beneath your feet. It's as if the mountain itself is alive, breathing through the stones, remembering something humanity has long since forgotten. You can almost hear it, if you stand still long enough. The rhythm of the ancient builders, the murmur of their prayers, the heartbeat of a civilization that vanished into legend. No written record tells us what the Incas called this place. Even the empire that built it left no mention of its name. And that, perhaps, is the strangest part. How could such a monumental city, perfectly engineered, impossibly located, exist without a single trace in history? When it was rediscovered in 1911, it wasn't found through maps or chronicles, but through rumor. Whispers among local farmers spoke of ruins hidden high above the clouds, where the stones seemed to glow at sunrise. To the rest of the world, it appeared as if the mountain itself had opened its hand and revealed a secret it had kept for centuries. But what was this secret meant to protect? From the air, Machu Picchu looks almost supernatural. Terraces curling around the slopes like waves, temples perched on narrow ledges, each stone placed with impossible precision. The entire city seems to have grown out of the mountain, rather than been built upon it. The Incas called this principle Ani, the sacred reciprocity between humanity and nature. Nothing here violates the land. It bends with it, breathes with it, honors it. The granite blocks were cut not to dominate the earth, but to become part of it. In that way, the builders didn't just construct a city, they created a living organism. But even perfection cannot escape time. At some point, Machu Picchu was abandoned. No one knows when or why. The Spanish never found it, and no battle ever reached its walls. It simply disappeared into the jungle, not destroyed, but erased by silence. For nearly 400 years, it remained lost to history, known only to the few who lived in its shadow and to the mountains that guarded it. Then, one morning in July 1911, an American explorer named Hiram Bingham followed a faint trail through the mist and stumbled upon what he believed to be the lost city of the Incas. He was wrong, but he had found something even greater. Imagine standing in his place that day, climbing through tangled vines, soaked in rain, only to emerge before a sight that defies comprehension. Terraces stretching in endless steps, temples perfectly aligned with the sun, and the silent gaze of Huayna Picchu, the mountain that towers above like a sentinel. For Bingham, it must have felt like touching eternity. For the world, it was as though the past had spoken again, whispering from the clouds, "Remember us." Yet the story of Machu Picchu is not only one of discovery, it is one of forgetting. For every secret revealed, a dozen more remain buried beneath its stones. Who lived here? Why was it built in such a perilous place, far from any known city or road? Why were the Inca willing to move mountains, literally, to construct something no one was meant to see? These are not questions of archaeology alone. They are questions of purpose, of faith, of the human desire to reach beyond mortality and touch the divine. Perhaps that is why the city feels so alive, because it was never meant to die. The Incas believed in Pachamama, the Mother Earth, and in Inti, the sun god. Every terrace, every stairway, every doorway was designed to connect the heavens, the earth, and the underworld, the three realms of their cosmos. Machu Picchu was more than a city. It was a bridge between worlds. As the sun breaks through the mist and strikes the stones, the entire site seems to shimmer. Shadows align with precision. Temples glow like fire. The Incas built this place to capture the sun, to bind light and stone into harmony. But the deeper you look, the more it feels like something else. A message. A silent declaration left for the future. Proof that once, humanity could build not from greed or conquest, but from reverence. And yet, beneath its beauty, the mystery lingers. What were they hiding from? Was Machu Picchu a royal retreat, a sanctuary, a shrine, or a secret? Why did its people vanish, leaving behind their temples, their tools, their very history? The answers lie scattered across the terraces, waiting in the thin mountain air. Every stone tells a story, but not in a language we can yet read. As twilight falls, the mountains turn gold, and the clouds draw close again, as if to reclaim what was theirs. The jungle hums softly, indifferent, eternal. Machu Picchu fades into shadow, its silhouette merging once more with the land. The city has endured empires, storms, centuries of silence. It does not need to be seen to exist. It simply waits, patient, timeless, watchful. For in these stones lies a secret not just of the Incas, but of ourselves. The reminder that even when civilizations fall, beauty endures, and that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, only witnessed. The river twisted through the gorge like a serpent, roaring beneath the cliffs as the expedition pushed deeper into the Peruvian jungle. It was July 1911, and the air hung heavy with rain and the scent of wet earth. The man leading the group, a history professor from Yale named Hiram Bingham, wiped the sweat from his brow and studied the mountains rising around him like green walls. He wasn't looking for beauty. He was chasing a legend. Somewhere beyond these ridges, he believed, lay the final refuge of the Inca emperors, the last city of a fallen empire. But destiny, as it so often does, had other plans. Bingham had come to Peru in search of Vilcabamba, the fabled last stronghold of the Incas, where the surviving nobles supposedly fled after the Spanish conquest. For years, explorers and treasure hunters had whispered about it. A hidden citadel in the jungle, filled with gold and secrets. It was said to be the place where the flame of the Inca civilization still flickered, untouched by European hands. Bingham wanted to find it, to carve his name into history as the man who rediscovered a lost world. What he did not know was that the world he would find was not the one he was looking for. The journey began in Cuzco, the ancient capital of the Inca Empire. From there, Bingham's small expedition, comprised of local guides, a sergeant, and a handful of porters, set out on horseback and foot through valleys thick with fog and rain. The trails were narrow, treacherous, often vanishing into sheer drops. At night they camped beneath dripping trees, their fires struggling against the damp air. The villagers they met along the way spoke little Spanish, but when asked about ruins, some would nod toward the distant mountains. They mentioned a place called Machu Picchu, the old peak, a site of ancient stones hidden above the clouds. At first, Bingham paid it little mind. His obsession was Vilcabamba, the last known refuge of the rebel Inca kings who resisted the Spanish for decades. He had already passed several ruins on his way, each one promising, none of them matching the grandeur he imagined. He pressed on, his compass aimed toward myth. But fate has a strange way of revealing its secrets. One day, as the group rested near a small plantation by the Urubamba River, Bingham met a local farmer named Melchor Artiega. When asked about nearby ruins, Artiega pointed to a steep mountain that loomed across the valley, half veiled in mist. There, he said, above the clouds. He spoke of ancient terraces and stone houses hidden in the forest, of a place the villagers called Machu Picchu. Bingham hesitated. It wasn't the city he was seeking, and the climb sounded brutal. But something in the man's voice, a quiet certainty, almost reverence, stirred his curiosity. The next morning, under a sky heavy with rain, Bingham set out with Artiega and a young guide. They crossed the river on a rickety bridge made of logs and vines, Then began the ascent through dense vegetation. The path was slippery, choked with ferns and orchids. Leeches clung to their boots. Branches tore at their clothes. The air thinned with every step. After hours of climbing, exhausted and drenched, they reached a small hut perched on a ridge. A family of Quechua farmers greeted them. 3 generations living in the shadow of an unseen marvel. The farmer's son, a boy of about 10, offered to lead them farther. Together, they cut through the vines, their machetes echoing in the stillness. The forest seemed to tighten around them, the mist growing thicker until the world felt enclosed in white silence. Then, without warning, the path opened, and the clouds parted like a curtain. Before them stretched a vision that defied reason. Terraces cascaded down the mountainside, perfectly aligned, shimmering with rain. Stone walls rose in patterns too deliberate to be random, too graceful to be mere ruins. There were stairways carved into solid rock, temples with trapezoidal doors, and the silent outline of a city built as though it had grown from the mountain itself. Bingham stood motionless, his breath caught in his throat. The jungle hummed softly around him, and for a moment, time seemed to collapse. He later wrote that he felt as though he had discovered the most important and spectacular archaeological find on the continent. But in truth, he did not yet grasp what he had found. He believed he was standing in the heart of Vilcabamba, the last city of the Incas. It would take decades to unravel that illusion. He explored for hours, sketching, measuring, marveling. The structures were astonishingly intact. Temples, houses, stairways, fountains, all cloaked in moss, yet still breathing with the rhythm of the land. There was an eerie sense of order, as though the builders had only just left. The stones were fitted so precisely that even centuries of rain could not separate them. When the mist drifted through the doorways, it looked as if the mountain itself was exhaling. But amid the wonder was confusion. There were no signs of war, no gold, no artifacts of royal defiance. The city seemed peaceful, serene, untouched by the violence that consumed the empire below. How could this be Vilcabamba, the fortress of resistance? The more he studied it, the less it resembled the city of rebellion and the more it felt like something sacred, something purposefully hidden. Still, Bingham's instincts as an explorer took over. He photographed everything, collected artifacts, and sent word to the outside world. When news of the discovery reached the United States, it ignited a frenzy. Newspapers hailed him as the man who had found the lost city of the Incas. The phrase stuck, transforming Machu Picchu into a legend overnight. Yet behind the triumph, a quiet irony remained. What he had uncovered was not the last refuge of a dying civilization, but perhaps its most perfect creation, preserved by isolation and faith. In the years that followed, Bingham returned to Machu Picchu several times, excavating, cataloging, and claiming the site for science and for himself. But he never fully understood what he had revealed to the world. His discovery was both a revelation and a misinterpretation. The unveiling of one of humanity's great wonders under the wrong name, driven by the right obsession. As the expedition packed up that day in 1911, the clouds began to descend once more. The city disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared, swallowed by mist. Bingham paused before leaving, looking back at the terraces glinting faintly in the fading light. He could not have known that his accidental discovery would rewrite history, ignite controversy, and transform a forgotten mountain sanctuary into a symbol of human mystery and endurance. He had gone searching for a city of defiance, and instead he found a city of silence. And somewhere, high above the river, Machu Picchu slept again, content in its secrecy, waiting for the world to truly understand what it had revealed. Long before the clouds gathered over Machu Picchu, before the jungle reclaimed its stones, and centuries before a foreign explorer stumbled upon its terraces, there was an empire that ruled the spine of South America, vast, ordered, and almost otherworldly in its precision. The Inca Empire, Tawantinsuyu, the land of the four quarters. It stretched from the coasts of Chile to the high plains of Ecuador, binding together more than 10 million people beneath the symbol of the golden sun. At its heart stood Cuzco, the navel of the world, a city designed not as a mere settlement but as a living symbol of divine harmony. From this sacred center, stone roads radiated outward like veins from a beating heart, carrying not just soldiers and goods, but the very will of the Sapa Inca, the emperor, son of the sun. To the people of the Andes, their ruler was not a man but a bridge between heaven and earth. He was Intipchuran, the child of the sun. His word was law, his image sacred. When he spoke as Inti himself. His subjects worked not out of fear, but out of a belief that to build for the Inca was to build for the gods. They carved mountains into terraces, turned deserts into gardens, and bound the Andes together with an empire that needed no written language. Their communication ran through quipus, chords knotted in intricate patterns, and through memory. The past lived in the voices of the elders, in songs, in ceremony. Their knowledge was carried by breath, not paper. At its height, the Inca Empire was a triumph of organization and faith. Roads carved into cliffs, bridges woven from grass, and fortresses that defied earthquakes. In a world that seemed to tremble constantly, the Incas built for eternity. Every stone had meaning. Every shadow was calculated. They measured time by the movement of stars, and they built their cities to reflect the constellations. They were architects of both stone and cosmos, and their empire was a mirror of the heavens. Cuzco itself was shaped like a puma, a creature sacred to the Incas, symbolizing strength and earthly power. At its head lay the great fortress of Sacsayhuaman, whose massive stones fit together so precisely that even now, centuries later, one cannot slide a knife between them. The Incas called this unity waka, a spiritual energy that infused every element of their world. Mountains, rivers, stones, even the air carried this sacred force. To build was not simply to create, it was to honor that living energy. From this sacred heart, the Incas reached outward, conquering through diplomacy, marriage, and strategy as much as through war. Each region they absorbed retained its traditions but bent them toward the sun. They united dozens of languages, tribes, and faiths into a single vision of order, the divine geometry of Tawantinsuyu. But beneath that perfection, pressure was building. The empire was vast, and its ruler mortal. When Pachacuti, the greatest of the Inca emperors, ascended the throne, he transformed the realm into something almost mythical. He rebuilt Cuzco in stone and sunlight. He expanded the borders to the ends of the earth. And somewhere, deep within the Andes, he ordered the construction of a place unlike any other. A royal sanctuary, half palace, half temple, built among the clouds. It was under Pachacuti's reign that the Incas reached their golden age. His architects shaped the mountains as if they were clay, bending nature to align with the celestial. The roads that stretched from Cuzco ran for over 25,000 miles, crossing deserts, forests, and glaciers. Messengers, chasquis, carried news and goods faster than horses, passing messages from one to another in a relay that connected the empire like a living circuit. Everything served the order, and everything was connected to the sun. The Inca calendar, the festivals, the harvests, all turned in rhythm with the heavens. And yet, for all their power, the Incas lived with humility before their gods. They believed the world was divided into three realms: Hanan Pasha, the upper world of the gods and stars; Ke Pasha, the middle world of living beings; and Uku Pasha, the inner world of spirits and ancestors. The emperor and his priests maintained the balance between these realms through rituals and offerings. Gold, the sweat of the sun, was not wealth but worship. Silver, the tears of the moon, adorned temples not as treasure, but as prayer. Their world was one of balance, of reciprocity, of profound respect for nature's cycles. To them, the mountains were not obstacles but beings, ancient guardians called apis. Each peak had a spirit, each river a soul. When the Inca builders carved terraces into the steep slopes, they were not defacing the land, but honoring it, shaping it gently into harmony. This reverence for the natural world explains much of their genius. They built not against the earth, but with it. That is why their walls endure earthquakes that shatter modern cities. It is why Machu Picchu, perched between two sacred peaks, still stands after centuries of storms. But perfection breeds fragility. An empire so tightly woven can unravel with a single tear. As the 16th century dawned, shadows began to creep across the sun's civil war divided brothers, and omens of disaster filled the skies. From the coast came rumors of pale strangers, men riding beasts no one had seen before, wielding thunder and fire. The Incas, who had believed their empire eternal, found themselves facing the unimaginable, the end of their world. When the Spaniards arrived in 1532, led by Francisco Pizarro, they carried not only steel and gunpowder but a hunger cloaked in faith. The meeting between Atahualpa, the last Inca emperor, and Pizarro would be one of the most devastating collisions in human history. Within months, an empire that had taken centuries to build was broken. Temples were looted, idols melted, and the divine order inverted. The sun was eclipsed, yet not all was lost. As flames consumed their cities, whispers spread through the mountains of sanctuaries hidden from foreign eyes. Refuge cities where the Inca faith would survive, guarded by priests and warriors who refused to surrender. Some spoke of Vilcabamba, the last fortress of defiance. Others told of a more secret place, one never touched by war, where the sun would always rise. A city built not for defense, but for remembrance. And somewhere high in the sacred valley, on a ridge between two mountains, the seed of that legend already existed. A city no Spaniard would ever see. A city built by the greatest of Inca emperors at the height of his power, and abandoned before history could write its name. It would sleep there for 400 years, cradled by the clouds, until the world was finally ready to remember it. The sky above Cajamarca was the color of ash when the empire fell. The air was thin with the smell of smoke and fear. In the heart of the plaza, the last Sapa Inca, Atahualpa, stood surrounded by men who did not belong to this world, strangers wrapped in metal, their faces pale, their voices sharp and commanding. They had come across the sea in search of gold, but what they found was something they could never understand. In a single moment, a single betrayal, the sun that had ruled the Andes for centuries was extinguished. The conquest of the Inca Empire did not happen slowly, as most empires fall. It happened like the sudden crack of thunder, swift, shocking, irreversible. In 1532, Francisco Pizarro and fewer than 200 Spanish soldiers lured Atahualpa into a trap. The Inca emperor came peacefully, dressed in gold, carried by his attendants. He brought gifts of silver and precious stones, and he carried the dignity of a god. But the Spaniards brought cannons and greed. When the signal was given, they attacked without warning. The plaza erupted in chaos. Gunfire, screams, the shattering of drums and bones. Within hours, the greatest empire of the Andes was on its knees. Atahualpa was taken captive, and his people, once masters of mountains, stood helpless. To buy his freedom, the Inca ruler promised a ransom that would make the world tremble. A room filled with gold up to the height of his outstretched hand. The Spaniards agreed, but promises mean little to men who believe themselves divine. When the gold was delivered, they strangled him anyway. On that night, the empire's heart stopped beating. The sun had fallen, and the mountains wept. But an empire built on faith cannot die so easily. Even as Spanish banners rose over Cuzco, the spirit of Tawantinsuyu refused to vanish. Across the valleys and jungles, pockets of resistance formed, warriors, priests, and nobles who would not kneel. They retreated deep into the mountains, carrying with them their gods, their rituals, and the last embers of their civilization. Among them was Manco Inca, a prince who had once allied with the Spaniards, only to see their cruelty firsthand. He led his followers away from the burning cities, through valleys and forests, until they vanished into the mist. There, he swore to preserve the sacred order of the sun. The Spaniards pursued them relentlessly, but the Andes were not their ally. The mountains protected their children. Trails vanished into cliffs, rivers swallowed invaders, and storms struck without warning. The jungle became a veil, a green labyrinth swallowing all who entered without reverence. The fugitives built new sanctuaries in hidden valleys, places that the foreign eyes of Europe would never find. Cities of refuge, temples of defiance. Among these sanctuaries was Vilcabamba, the last Inca capital, shrouded in legend and secrecy. It became a symbol of resistance, a place where the Inca spirit survived long after their empire had fallen. For 40 years, the descendants of the royal line ruled there in exile, striking from the shadows. To the Spanish chroniclers, Vilcabamba was a ghost, a city they could never conquer, always beyond their reach. But among the whispers of the Andean people, there were tales of other refuges older and holier. Cities not of war, but of worship. Hidden sanctuaries built not to fight, but to remember. One of those whispers spoke of a city built by Pachacuti, high above the sacred valley, a place untouched by conquest, where the sun still rose in silence. The Incas believed it was a waka, a living holy place where the divine could still be felt. No soldier ever found it, no priest ever burned its idols. It was said to exist beyond the gaze of the invader, invisible to those without faith. That city was Machu Picchu. As Spanish soldiers scoured the land, tearing down temples, melting idols, and renaming every mountain they touched, Machu Picchu slept in peace. The jungle grew around it like armor, the terraces filled with moss, the temples with orchids. The stone paths were swallowed by roots. To the conquerors, it was as if the mountain held no secret at all. To the Andean villagers who lived beneath its shadow, it remained a sacred silence. They did not speak of it. Some knowledge was not meant for foreign tongues. The Spanish chroniclers wrote triumphantly of their victories, how they broke the idols and baptized the people, how they brought light to the savages. But what they did not see was the quiet resistance of memory. The Incas, stripped of their empire, found freedom in remembrance. They passed their stories in whispers, through generations, in songs sung under their breath. They told their children that the gods had not died, only hidden themselves until the world was ready again. The years turned to decades, the decades to centuries. Cusco became a colonial city. Gold flowed across the sea to Spain. The mountains remained silent, their secrets buried beneath green depths and mist. And yet, through all that silence, the echo of the empire endured. The stone roads still wound through valleys where no Spaniard ever walked. The terraces still held the soil of the ancestors. The rivers still carried their names. Some legends said that the Inca priests sealed their sacred sites with rituals so that the unworthy could not find them. Others believed that the mountains themselves closed around their cities, that nature conspired to hide what humanity had not earned. Whether by faith or fate, the lost city escaped conquest. It survived not by strength, but by invisibility. The Spanish conquest had shattered the empire, but it could not erase the truth carved into stone. Every ruin they left behind, from Cusco to Ollantaytambo, carried the same message: the world is sacred, and those who forget this will be forgotten themselves. Perhaps that was why Machu Picchu endured untouched for nearly 4 centuries. The mountain, it seemed, remembered what mankind forgot. By the time the world rediscovered the city, its builders had become myth. The Spaniards were long gone, their empire crumbling to dust. The sun had returned to its mountain throne, patient and eternal. What had begun as conquest had ended as silence. And somewhere, deep in that silence, the stones of Machu Picchu waited, not as ruins of defeat, but as guardians of memory. For though the empire fell in fire and blood, its spirit ascended into the clouds, where no invader could reach. Empires rise and vanish, faiths burn and fade, but the mountains remain. They remember every step, every prayer, every betrayal. They hold the echoes of the past, waiting for those who still know how to listen. And high among those peaks, where the air thins and the earth meets the sky, the Incas left one final message, not written in words, but in silence. The city appeared as if it had grown from the mountain itself. Terraces stepped down the slopes in perfect alignment, stone walls glinting faintly in the early morning light. Every building, every stairway seemed to belong there, shaped to fit the natural contours of the cliffs. It was a place of impossible harmony, a place that made the jungle feel alive and the mountain feel human. From the river below to the peaks above, Machu Picchu demanded reverence, and yet it demanded questions. Why was it built here, in the clouds where no army could reach and no empire could thrive. To stand at the edge of the main plaza was to confront a paradox. The city was massive, yet intimate, organized, yet organic. The layout suggested careful planning, a mind attuned to both practicality and spirituality. The terraces, wide enough to grow crops and narrow enough to prevent landslides, reflected the Inca understanding of agriculture and engineering. Water channels carved from stone carried life across the steep slopes. Buildings aligned with sunlight and shadow, with the peaks of Picchu and Machu Picchu framing every angle. Nothing seemed accidental. Every corner, every stone was deliberate. The temples were the most striking. The Temple of the Sun, with its semicircular walls, appeared almost alive under the rising sun. At certain times of the year, sunlight would strike a particular stone, creating a beam that seemed to bridge heaven and earth. The Intihuatana, the hitching post of the sun, rose at the center of the city, its carved stone reaching toward the sky. Archaeologists later theorized that it was an astronomical observatory, designed to track solstices, equinoxes, and the movement of stars. But even that scientific interpretation failed to capture the feeling of standing before it, a sensation that the stone itself was conscious, listening, waiting. Yet, for all its grandeur, Machu Picchu bore no signs of permanent population in the way a modern city might. There were homes, yes, and storage buildings, but not enough to house a large army or a bustling trade center. Its isolation was complete, and this isolation seemed intentional. The paths leading to the city were narrow, treacherous, often disappearing into the jungle. To approach it was to leave the known world behind. To leave it unguarded was to trust the mountain, to trust the mist, to trust the divine. The city had been built not for conquest, nor for commerce, but for something far subtler, far more profound. The mystery deepened when examining the construction itself. The stones were cut with such precision that even modern tools struggle to replicate them. They were fitted without mortar, yet no earthquake in centuries had displaced them. Some stones weighed several tons, yet they rested in perfect alignment, as though the mountain itself had positioned them. The Incas left no record of how they moved these massive stones. Some scholars suggested advanced engineering techniques, others whispered of spiritual guidance, of knowledge lost to time. Regardless of method, the result was undeniable. Machu Picchu was built to last, not just for decades, but for eternity. And then there was the location itself. The city is perched between two peaks, with the Urubamba River twisting below like a silver ribbon. It is high enough to be shrouded in clouds yet accessible enough for the Incas to manage agriculture and water. The surrounding mountains create a natural fortress, invisible from the valley below. No invader could approach unnoticed. No outsider could stumble upon it by chance. Its position suggests not only strategic wisdom but a deep understanding of the spiritual landscape. The mountains were sacred to the Incas, Apis, the spirits of the peaks. By building here, they were not conquering the land, they were honoring it. Despite its isolation, Machu Picchu was not silent. Evidence of ritual activity suggests that it was a living spiritual center. Ceremonies were conducted at the Temple of the Sun, offerings made at sacred stones, and festivals timed to the movement of the sun and stars. It was a place where humans could commune directly with the divine, where every architectural choice reinforced the connection between earth, sky, and the sacred. To live here, even temporarily, was to participate in a ritual of harmony, a rhythm dictated by the cosmos itself. Archaeological studies indicate that the city may have served multiple functions. Some scholars argue it was a royal estate, a retreat for the Emperor Pachacuti, where he could govern, worship, and perhaps train chosen priestesses in the sacred rites. Others suggest it was a sanctuary, a place to hide the most sacred treasures of the empire from Spanish conquest. There is evidence that some residents were women of religious significance, possibly the Virgins of the Sun, and that priests played a central role in guiding daily life. In every theory, however, one element is undeniable. The city was extraordinary, a deliberate blend of function, faith, and art. Even today, as tourists wander its terraces, it is impossible not to feel the weight of history here. The silence is thick, as if the stones themselves remember the hands that shaped them. Each doorway frames the mountains like a living painting. Each stairway invites contemplation. Even the simplest agricultural terrace carries a story of ingenuity, patience, and reverence. It is a city that speaks without words, that communicates not through text but through presence, through alignment, through design. And yet, the greatest question remains unanswered. For all its perfection, all its beauty and spiritual resonance, Machu Picchu remains fundamentally mysterious. Why build such a city so high, so far from the known world? Why leave it unguarded yet hidden? Why abandon it so completely, without a trace of destruction or violence? The answer eludes us, as if the mountain itself is holding its breath, waiting for the right mind to see the truth. To walk among the stones is to walk among questions as much as history. Machu Picchu is not merely a city. It is a testament to the human desire to reach beyond the ordinary, to carve meaning into stone, to touch the heavens. It is a place where the tangible and the transcendent intersect, where skill, faith, and vision meet, where time folds back upon itself, letting the past speak directly to the present. And as the mist curls around the terraces once more, the city seems to pulse with life, silent yet insistent. Machu Picchu endures not just because of stone or location, but because it embodies a truth that cannot be destroyed. Some creations are meant to survive centuries of neglect, to endure in secrecy, to remind humanity of what is possible when ingenuity meets devotion. Here, in the clouds, the lost city of the Incas waits, waiting for those who are willing to look beyond the obvious, to ask the questions no one else dares, and to listen to what the mountains have to say. The stones of Machu Picchu are more than mere building materials. They are vessels of memory, carved and placed with a precision that defies reason and a reverence that transcends time. To touch them is to feel the pulse of the past, the heartbeat of a civilization that understood the world not as a collection of resources but as a living, breathing organism. Each block fits with its neighbor so perfectly that a knife cannot slip between them, yet there is no mortar binding them. The walls seem to breathe, expanding and contracting with the shifting mountain, flexing under the weight of centuries and earthquakes alike. It is an architecture alive in ways modern builders have only begun to understand. The Incas were master masons, and their work at Machu Picchu is the pinnacle of their craft. Stones were quarried from nearby sources, many weighing several tons, and transported across impossible terrain. No wheel, no draft animals capable of heavy hauling, no written engineering plans. Yet somehow, these blocks were moved, shaped, and set with such care that they have outlasted empires and earthquakes. Some theorists suggest ramps and ropes. Others hint at techniques now lost to history. Whatever the method, the result was something more than construction. It was creation, a dialogue between human effort and the mountain itself. Every stone at Machu Picchu was chosen and placed with intent. The builders seemed to understand the mountain's secret language, listening to its angles, its fissures, its natural lines of strength. Stones that might crumble in ordinary conditions were positioned to withstand centuries of wind, rain, and seismic upheaval. Terraces channel water and prevent erosion. Retaining walls are angled to absorb tremors. The city is not just built on the mountain. It is woven into it, as if the mountain itself had grown alongside the city in a slow, deliberate partnership. Walking among the walls, one can sense this subtle intention. The stonework speaks in patterns and textures, each block polished and shaped to interact with light and shadow. In some temples, the walls seem to shimmer at sunrise, catching the first rays of the sun in a silent celebration. In others, the angles create shadows that fall precisely on ritual spaces, marking time and season in a way that aligns with the cosmos. The stones themselves become instruments, recording celestial events with a quiet, unassuming genius. The method of joining these stones, known as ashlar masonry, is extraordinary. Irregular blocks are cut to fit together like pieces of a puzzle, with such precision that the gaps are invisible. This technique not only ensures stability but allows the walls to move slightly during earthquakes, absorbing the shock instead of collapsing. Centuries of natural disasters have tested the city, yet it stands intact, a testament to the ingenuity and foresight of its creators. Modern architects and engineers study Machu Picchu, often with awe and disbelief, realizing that these builders, with no formal instruments, achieved feats that challenge today's technology. But the stones are not only practical, they are sacred. Each block carries spiritual significance, aligned with the natural and celestial worlds. Certain rocks were chosen for their origin, their composition, or their shape. Some were placed to channel energy, others to mark astronomical events. The Incas believed that the earth itself was alive, and that by shaping the stone, they were participating in a divine act. Construction was not a labor of conquest or dominance. It was a ritual of harmony, an offering to the gods, and an expression of the deep connection between humanity and nature. Even the unfinished stones tell stories. In the quarry above the city, massive blocks remain half-carved, abandoned yet purposeful. They reveal the process of selection, shaping, and placement, giving insight into the meticulous care involved in every stage. The workers left evidence of thought, skill, and reverence, as if their labor were a prayer carved in granite. The precision required to shape these stones by hand, to fit them together without mortar, speaks to a discipline that was as spiritual as it was technical. Each strike of the chisel, each polished surface, was an act of devotion. The terraces themselves, though often overlooked, are also marvels of stonework. Beyond their agricultural function, they form a network of retaining walls and drainage systems that keep the city intact. Stones line every channel, directing rainwater down to the river below without washing away the soil. They also create microclimates, enabling the cultivation of crops that would otherwise struggle in the high Andes. Here, engineering and agriculture converge in a way that reflects not only knowledge but wisdom, an understanding of the mountain, the sun, and the rain. The spiritual dimension of the stonework is perhaps most apparent in the temples and sacred spaces. The Temple of the Sun, the Intihuatana, and the Room of the Three Windows are all constructed with such care that light, shadow, and perspective become part of the architecture. During solstices, the sun strikes specific stones, casting lines of illumination that align with the rituals of the time. The placement is deliberate, integrating the rhythms of the cosmos with human activity. Machu Picchu, through its stone, connects earth to sky, matter to spirit, the living to the divine. Even today, visitors sense this vibrancy. To run a hand along the walls is to touch not just stone, but the legacy of intention, knowledge, and devotion. The city whispers to those who enter, not in words but in presence. Every corner, every carved block, conveys a silent message that human effort, when guided by reverence and vision, can achieve harmony with the world in ways that transcend centuries. Machu Picchu's stones do more than support structures. They carry memory, encode wisdom, and breathe life into the mountain itself. The genius of Machu Picchu lies in this fusion of utility, spirituality, and artistry. Its walls do not merely contain the city. They embody the philosophy of a people who saw themselves as part of a living cosmos. They remind us that architecture can be more than functional, that it can be sacred, that stones, when placed with purpose and faith, can endure beyond time and disaster, speaking across generations to those willing to listen. And so, as the mist drifts through the terraces and the morning sun strikes the stonework just right, it feels as though the city itself exhales. It has survived empires, earthquakes, and centuries of isolation. It remains alive, silent yet sentient, a dialogue between human hands and the living mountain. To witness Machu Picchu is to witness the enduring power of stones that breathe. The sun rises over the Andes in a way that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Its light spills across valleys and ridges, striking peaks and terraces in golden brilliance. At Machu Picchu, this daily miracle is amplified, choreographed by human hands as though the city itself were built to greet the sun. The Incas were masters of celestial alignment, and their most sacred structures, temples, observatories, and ceremonial stones, were oriented with precision to the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Every sunrise, every shadow, every reflection was a measure of time, a record of cosmic rhythm, and a bridge between the mortal and the divine. The Temple of the Sun is the heart of this celestial dialogue. Its semicircular walls embrace the light at dawn, allowing the first rays of the solstice sun to illuminate a carved niche where a golden idol once stood. For the Incas, this was not mere decoration. Gold was the sweat of the sun, a sacred material that captured its essence. By aligning the temple to the sun's movements, the builders made the mountain itself a living clock, tracking the passage of seasons, agricultural cycles, and ceremonial dates. In this way, the city was a calendar, a guide for life itself, encoded in stone and light. Beyond the Temple of the Sun, the Intihuatana stone sits in quiet majesty. The name itself means hitching post of the sun, and it served a dual purpose, as an astronomical observatory and as a ritual object. On solstices, shadows cast by the stone revealed the exact moment of the sun's zenith. The Intihuatana was more than a tool. It was a spiritual anchor, a focal point for prayers and ceremonies. By touching it, the priests symbolically tethered the sun to the earth, ensuring balance, abundance, and cosmic harmony. For the Incas, celestial cycles were not abstract. They were alive, influencing every harvest, every festival, every act of governance. Even the architecture of the residential and ceremonial zones reflects this obsession with the sun. Windows and doorways are positioned to frame specific light patterns on important dates. During solstices, sunlight passes through a window and illuminates specific stones, marking the beginning of planting or harvesting seasons. In some cases, the stones themselves are carved to catch the light at just the right angle, transforming ordinary rock into instruments of celestial calculation. These alignments were not accidental. They were the culmination of centuries of observation, calculation, and spiritual practice. The language of the sun extended beyond the temples and observatories. Agricultural terraces, water channels, and stairways were all integrated into a system that responded to light and weather. Certain crops were planted where morning sun would first touch the soil. Channels were angled to carry water with minimal loss. Every choice, from stone placement to crop rotation, was informed by a profound understanding of the sun's cycles. The city itself was an organism, alive to the rhythms of light, rain, and shadow. It is no wonder that even today, the terraces support vegetation in a way that seems almost magical, a testament to this integration of observation, science, and sacred knowledge. Rituals at Machu Picchu were closely tied to these celestial patterns. Priests conducted ceremonies at dawn, offering food, drink, and prayer to Inti, the sun god. Women known as the Virgins of the Sun participated in dances and chants timed to the sun's journey across the sky. Festivals marked planting, harvesting, and the changing of seasons, all synchronized with the city's unique geography and the precise positioning of its stones. By embedding the sacred into the everyday, the Incas created a society in which the cosmos was not distant but intimately present, woven into the rhythms of human life. Machu Picchu's alignment to celestial events also served a deeper, symbolic purpose. The Incas believed that the cosmos mirrored the social and spiritual order of the world. Just as the sun rose and fell with predictable rhythm, society too had its place and purpose. The emperor, the priests, the laborers, the farmers, all were part of a cosmic hierarchy reflected in the city's design. By observing the sun, by building in harmony with its path, the Incas affirmed their role in the divine order. Architecture, astronomy, and governance were inseparable, each informing and supporting the other. Yet, for all its precision and logic, there was mystery in the language of the sun. Certain alignments remain unexplained, moments when sunlight falls in ways that do not match any known calendrical pattern. Shadows trace paths across stones at seemingly arbitrary angles, igniting speculation that the city held knowledge we no longer understand. Some scholars have suggested that Machu Picchu encoded ritual, cosmology, or even astronomical knowledge lost to time. Others whisper of secrets deliberately concealed, messages intended for those initiated into the spiritual life of the empire. Each sunbeam that pierces a doorway seems to ask a question, revealing and concealing simultaneously. The sun's influence extended beyond the city itself. Machu Picchu is perched between two sacred peaks, Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu Mountain, each believed to be an Apu, a mountain spirit. The sunrise and sunset illuminate these peaks in ways that mirror the city's alignments, creating a dialogue between stone, light, and spirit. It is as though the entire landscape participates in the ritual, transforming natural geography into a living temple. The mountains are not passive observers but partners in the sacred architecture, their presence amplifying the connection between humanity and the cosmos. For those who visit Machu Picchu today, it is impossible to ignore this connection. The morning sun spilling across terraces, the way shadows stretch and fold against stone walls, the golden glow illuminating niches and temples. All of it creates a sense of wonder, a realization that human beings once lived in intimate conversation with the heavens. The Incas did not merely survive in this environment. They elevated it, turning light into language, motion into meaning, and stone into a vessel of cosmic knowledge. The language of the sun is silent, yet it speaks louder than words. It tells of devotion, observation, and an understanding of the universe that merges practicality with spirituality. It challenges us to consider the depth of Inca knowledge, their capacity to integrate science and ritual, and their ability to create a city that functions as both a human settlement and a cosmic instrument. Machu Picchu endures because it is not just built on stone. It is built on alignment, intention, and reverence. And so, as the first rays of dawn strike the terraces and temples, the city comes alive. It is more than a collection of walls, steps, and roofs. It is a living chronometer, a testament to a civilization that measured time not by hours or minutes, but by the movement of the cosmos itself. In this city, the sun is both a guide and a deity, illuminating paths, revealing secrets, and reminding all who enter that some knowledge is written in light and some in stone. Water moves through Machu Picchu as if the city itself breathes. The sound of trickling streams, hidden channels, and stone fountains fills the air, subtle yet persistent, a reminder that life flows not only through people but through the land itself. To the casual eye, these waterways might appear as simple irrigation systems. Yet for the Incas, water was sacred, a gift from the mountains, a bridge between the heavens and the earth, and a vital part of the city's spiritual and practical design. Every drop was calculated, guided, and respected, forming a network that is both astonishingly efficient and deeply symbolic. The terraces that step down the slopes are more than agricultural marvels. They are intricate waterworks. Rainfall from the peaks above is channeled through stone conduits, carefully angled to prevent erosion while feeding crops planted in the fertile soil of the terraces. Runoff is directed into small reservoirs or harmlessly returned to the river below, ensuring that every drop of water sustains the city without causing damage. It is an engineering feat that modern hydrologists study, marveling at how an empire without pumps, pipes, or written schematics managed to achieve such precision. Yet the system is more than practical. It is spiritual. Water was considered the blood of the mountains, sacred and alive. Springs, streams, and fountains within Machu Picchu were often located near temples or ceremonial spaces, emphasizing the inseparability of life and ritual. The Temple of the Water, for instance, features carved channels that carry crystal-clear streams through the stones, filling basins and offering a constant, gentle murmur that merges with the wind and birdsong. The sound of flowing water was not merely aesthetic. It was part of the ritual experience, a living element that connected inhabitants to the spirits of the mountains and the river below. The city's fountains are masterpieces in themselves. Each one is carved from solid stone, perfectly aligned to catch the flow of water at the correct angle, ensuring continuous circulation without stagnation. Some fountains are fed by natural springs, others by subtle channels hidden within walls and terraces. Water emerges clean, cold, and alive, as if it has been filtered and blessed by the mountain. Archaeologists note that the fountains often mark sacred points in the city, linking the material and spiritual functions in a way that demonstrates the Incas' deep understanding of both ecology and cosmology. Hidden channels carry water to every sector of the city. These conduits, some barely visible, are designed to maximize efficiency and minimize erosion. During heavy rainfall, excess water is guided through overflow channels, preventing landslides and damage to terraces. In drier months, reservoirs ensure that crops receive a steady supply of moisture. This careful balance demonstrates not only engineering brilliance but also a profound respect for natural cycles. The city does not fight the landscape, it harmonizes with it. The way water interacts with stone at Machu Picchu also creates subtle acoustic effects. In certain spaces, the sound of flowing streams amplifies the voice of a priest or the chant of a ceremony, enhancing ritual experience. The city becomes a living instrument, where stone, water, and human activity converge. A single drop falling into a basin can create ripples that echo through the terraces, transforming simple sound into a spiritual message. The Incas were attuned to this interplay, understanding that water could carry not only life but meaning, reinforcing the sacred geometry of the city. The terraces themselves are examples of this duality between utility and symbolism. Water circulates through them, feeding maize, potatoes, and other crops, while at the same time symbolizing the flow of life, the blessing of the mountains, and the connection to the sun. The alignment of channels, basins, and fountains with temples and shrines suggests that even irrigation was considered a spiritual act. Water was not a tool. It was a partner in maintaining the city's balance, both physically and cosmically. Some of the city's most intriguing features are the underground channels that remain hidden from view. Carved from solid rock, these conduits allowed water to move silently beneath terraces and buildings, supplying fountains and ritual spaces without disturbing daily life. They demonstrate a level of foresight and technical skill that is extraordinary even by modern standards. By moving water underground, the builders could maintain the visual harmony of the city while ensuring its functional integrity, blending engineering, aesthetics, and ritual seamlessly. Moreover, the city's designers anticipated environmental extremes. Machu Picchu sits in a region of heavy rainfall and steep slopes, conditions that would destroy less carefully planned settlements. The terraces, channels, and drains together form a resilient system that prevents flooding, erosion, and landslides. In essence, the city's waterworks are both protective and life-giving, guarding the people while nurturing the crops. It is a balance of survival, beauty, and devotion, a reflection of the Inca philosophy that human activity must coexist with nature. The water systems also hint at secrecy. Some channels appear to lead nowhere, disappearing into walls or the earth, suggesting that the builders embedded hidden knowledge, perhaps related to ritual or symbolic meaning. Certain fountains may have been accessible only to priests or nobles, emphasizing the sacred and restricted nature of water in Inca cosmology. In a city designed for spiritual and political purposes, even the flow of water carried messages about power, hierarchy, and divine order. Walking through Machu Picchu today, the sound of water remains a constant presence. Streams trickle from carved stones, fountains murmur quietly, and rain courses through terraces exactly as it must have centuries ago. There is a rhythm to it, a pulse that aligns with the heartbeat of the city itself. It reminds the visitor that Machu Picchu is not static. It is alive, sustained by elements that are themselves sacred. Water here is memory, engineering, and spirituality in one, flowing through stone as though the city itself breathes. The hidden waterways of Machu Picchu offer more than beauty or utility. They reveal a civilization in conversation with its environment, a people who understood that survival, spirituality, and design were inseparable. Water is life, but it is also meaning, flowing through terraces, temples, and channels, connecting the city to the mountains and the sky. It is a silent guide, teaching those who pay attention about balance, foresight, and reverence. And so, as sunlight dances on wet stones and rivers of rain spill across the terraces, the city continues its eternal rhythm. Water courses through its veins, connecting past to present, human to mountain, earth to sky. Machu Picchu's hidden waterways are more than functional marvels. They are sacred arteries, keeping the city alive in body, spirit, and memory. The peaks surrounding Machu Picchu rise like silent sentinels, their jagged silhouettes etched against the sky. Huayna Picchu, with its steep, sharp ridges, towers over the city, while Machu Picchu mountain stretches along the opposite side, forming a natural fortress of stone and mist. To the casual eye, these peaks are mere obstacles or scenery. To the Incas, they were sacred entities, powerful spirits known as Apis, guardians of the land, weather, and people below. They watched over the city with unwavering vigilance, their presence woven into the very fabric of the settlement, their influence felt in every stone, every terrace, and every ritual. The Incas believed that the mountains possessed consciousness and power. Each Apu was not just a backdrop. It was a protector and a deity, commanding respect, worship, and attention. Offerings were made to the Apis to ensure fertility, rainfall, and safety from natural disasters. The placement of Machu Picchu between these two sacred peaks was no accident. The city was carefully situated to honor their guardianship, creating a spiritual axis where human life, architecture, and the mountain spirits converged. The Incas knew that by aligning their city with the peaks, they were not merely building a settlement. They were entering into a covenant with forces far greater than themselves. Climbing Huayna Picchu today, it is easy to sense why it was revered. The ascent is narrow, winding along sheer cliffs, and each step demands concentration. From the summit, the city below spreads out like a tapestry, terraces cascading down the mountainside, temples and plazas woven into the rock as if grown rather than built. It is a perspective that must have awed the Incas as well, reinforcing the idea that their city was under the watchful eyes of the gods. From this vantage point, one can imagine priests and nobles ascending to perform rituals, offering thanks and seeking guidance, their small forms dwarfed by the grandeur of the mountains. The peak's spiritual significance was mirrored in the city's architecture. Temples, shrines, and ceremonial stones were often positioned to face the mountains, aligning with sightlines that connected the sacred spaces of humans with the sacred presence of the Apis. Rituals incorporated these alignments, acknowledging the mountain's role in maintaining cosmic and earthly balance. Even terraces and stairways, while practical, were designed with these spiritual considerations in mind, ensuring that the city existed in harmony with its guardians. Every angle, every view was intentional. The Incas also believed that the Apis were sources of life-giving energy. Water springs often emerged from the base or slopes of these peaks, feeding the city's complex water system and terraces. By situating Machu Picchu between them, the Incas harnessed not only spiritual protection but also practical resources, integrating sacred geography with urban planning. The peaks were both symbolic and functional, embodying the intersection of faith, survival, and ingenuity. Local legends speak of rituals performed at the peaks themselves. Priests and shamans would ascend dangerous trails to leave offerings, sometimes atop precarious cliffs where one misstep could mean death. These acts were not merely displays of courage. They were necessary exchanges with the mountain spirits, ensuring harmony, fertility, and protection for the people below. Gold, textiles, food, and even coca leaves were placed upon the rocks, acts of devotion that reinforced the sacred contract between human and divine. The mountains demanded respect, and the Incas honored it in both tangible and spiritual forms. The peaks also served as a natural defense. Their sheer cliffs and steep ridges made Machu Picchu nearly impossible to approach unnoticed. Any invader attempting to reach the city would face treacherous paths, sudden drops, and dense jungle. The Incas, understanding this advantage, relied on the mountains themselves as guardians, reducing the need for walls or fortifications on all sides. The Apis were more than symbols. They were protectors of the city, allies in both spiritual and practical terms. Archaeological evidence suggests that small shrines, carved stones, and ritual sites existed on or near these peaks. Though many have been eroded by time and weather, traces remain that hint at ceremonies performed to honor the guardians. These rituals often coincided with astronomical events, connecting the cycles of the sun and moon with the will of the Apis. The mountains were thus integrated into both the spiritual and temporal order, a constant reminder of forces that governed not only human life but also the natural world around it. The peaks also played a role in storytelling and memory. Oral traditions among the Quechua people preserve tales of ancestors who communicated with the Apis, seeking guidance, blessings, or intervention. These narratives suggest that the mountains were considered intermediaries between humans and the divine, acting as channels through which prayers, fears, and gratitude could travel. The mountains were not passive. They were active participants in the spiritual life of the city. Even the way the city interacts with the peaks today reinforces this sense of guardianship. As clouds drift between ridges and sunlight illuminates terraces, the peaks seem to watch over the city, their presence both protective and enigmatic. Visitors often feel a subtle energy, an almost imperceptible awareness that they are being observed, guided, and perhaps judged. The mountain's influence is not only visual or symbolic, it is visceral, a sensation that has endured for centuries, unchanged by time or conquest. Machu Picchu's placement between Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu Mountain illustrates the Incas' mastery of landscape, spirituality, and strategy. The city is not merely nestled in the mountains. It is cradled by them, dependent on their protection and aligned with their sacred presence. To the Incas, the mountains were alive, and their guardianship was continuous, extending beyond death, conquest, and the erosion of empires. The peaks remind us that Machu Picchu was never intended to exist in isolation. Its power and mystery derive as much from its surroundings as from its architecture. The city is inseparable from the mountains, from the rivers that run between them, and from the clouds that swirl around their summits. Together, these elements form a living system of protection, spirituality, and meaning, one that has allowed Machu Picchu to endure where other cities of conquest have vanished. And so, as the wind whistles through ridges and clouds curl over the summits, the guardians of Machu Picchu remain vigilant. Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu Mountain watch silently, their presence woven into every stone, every terrace, every channel of water. They are eternal sentinels, witnesses to human ingenuity, devotion, and folly. They remind us that the city below is not merely built. It is cradled, sustained, and sacred. To stand among these peaks is to feel history as a living thing. It is to understand that Machu Picchu endures because it is not just the work of human hands but the partnership between humanity and the divine forces of the Andes. The city's survival is as much owed to the mountains as it is to stone or engineering. The Apis are not silent monuments. They are living guardians, ensuring that the lost city of the Incas continues to breathe, to inspire, and to watch over the centuries yet to come. The stones of Machu Picchu carry secrets that speak louder than any written record. Each block, each carefully fitted wall, each perfectly carved corner seems to guard knowledge that has survived centuries of conquest, earthquakes, and jungle reclamation. To the casual observer, they are simply impressive masonry. To the trained eye, or to the heart attuned to history, they are repositories of intention, memory, and sacred meaning. Every stone tells a story of the hands that shaped it, the mountains that bore it, and the civilization that entrusted it with both survival and secrecy. In some areas of the city, stones are polished and carved with such precision that the lines appear to flow, almost as if the rock itself remembers the movements of the chisel that shaped it. Archaeologists have noted that many of these stones do not follow simple geometric patterns but are irregular, adjusted to fit perfectly with neighboring blocks. This technique, known as ashlar masonry, was used not only to ensure stability during seismic events but also to embed subtle markers within the walls, markers that may have served astronomical, ritualistic, or symbolic functions. To walk among these stones is to follow a path laid by invisible hands, to encounter messages encoded in shape, placement, and alignment. Some of the most intriguing secrets lie in the uncut or partially carved stones scattered throughout the city. In the quarry above Machu Picchu, massive blocks remain in their raw state, abandoned mid-creation. These stones reveal more than construction techniques. They hint at decisions made for spiritual or practical reasons, decisions whose rationale has been lost over time. Why was one stone completed while another remained untouched? Was it a matter of ritual, a sign of imperfection in the hands of the builder, or a message intended for those who could read the language of the mountain? The ambiguity fuels the enduring mystery of the city. The walls themselves appear almost alive. In the Temple of the Sun and other ceremonial spaces, some stones have been shaped to interact with sunlight, casting precise shadows at specific times of the year. Others are carved to amplify sound, creating echoes or resonances during chants and ceremonies. These stones are not merely passive. They are instruments, vessels of knowledge, and silent witnesses to sacred practices. The Incas understood that stone could communicate as powerfully as words, that it could encode meaning in ways both tangible and invisible. Even functional stones, like those forming terraces or water channels, contain hidden ingenuity. The terraces are layered with gravel, sand, and stone, allowing water to drain efficiently while preventing landslides. Some stones in drainage channels are carved to redirect flow precisely, ensuring both irrigation and structural integrity. In this way, Machu Picchu's builders combined practicality with secrecy, hiding the genius of their engineering in plain sight. To the untrained eye, it is a beautiful city. To the initiated, it is a living manuscript of survival and sacred knowledge. There are hints that some stones served symbolic or ritual purposes beyond their structural role. Carvings resembling steps, niches, or small channels suggest pathways for offerings, conduits for water used in ceremonies, or markers aligned with celestial events. Certain stones are aligned with the peaks surrounding the city, connecting Machu Picchu to the larger spiritual landscape of the Andes. By embedding these hidden elements, the builders ensured that the city was more than a collection of structures. It was a map, a calendar, and a sacred space, all encoded in the very stone of the mountainside. Buried within the walls are subtle anomalies that continue to puzzle researchers. Some stones are slightly tilted, others angled unusually. In the absence of mortar, these adjustments were intentional, perhaps designed to withstand earthquakes, or perhaps to direct spiritual energy, or to encode information for the few who understood the city's deeper purpose. Every irregularity invites speculation. Are these marks a language lost to time, a ritual code, or the result of intuition guided by reverence for the mountain? No definitive answer exists, and the ambiguity preserves the stone's power as guardians of secrets. The construction process itself reveals an intimate understanding of stone properties, mountain geology, and human labor. The builders selected blocks not only for size and shape but for durability, resonance, and connection to surrounding features. Some stones were quarried from within the mountain itself, creating continuity between the natural landscape and human construction. Others were transported from distant sources, suggesting a symbolic or spiritual importance tied to their origin. In every decision, the stones were treated as more than material. They were participants in the sacred project of the city. Some scholars theorize that Machu Picchu contains hidden chambers, tunnels, or storage spaces, deliberately concealed within the walls. While few have been found, reports of unusual voids, irregular masonry, and cavities hint at secrets yet to be discovered. Could these spaces hold ceremonial artifacts, offerings to the gods, or even knowledge meant to survive centuries of human ignorance? The possibility that the city continues to guard its mysteries deepens the sense of awe and underscores the idea that the stones themselves are sentinels, keeping watch over what is sacred and unseen. Perhaps the greatest secret of all is the silence embedded in the stones. Machu Picchu was abandoned without destruction, left largely intact, as if the city were meant to sleep until a time when the world could approach it with respect. Unlike other Inca sites, there is no evidence of burning, looting, or defacement. The stones remain precisely as they were placed, a deliberate preservation of memory and meaning. In this way, the stones do not merely survive. They speak, silently and insistently, offering lessons in patience, reverence, and the persistence of human intention. To touch the walls of Machu Picchu is to engage with these secrets, to feel the continuity of human endeavor and spiritual practice. The stones carry echoes of chants, footsteps, and rituals, preserving the essence of a civilization that understood the mountain, the cosmos, and the sacred dance between the two. They remind us that knowledge can be encoded in subtle ways, that power and devotion are often hidden in plain sight, and that some truths endure, not in books or inscriptions, but in the enduring presence of stone. As the mist curls through the terraces and sunlight glances off polished walls, the hidden messages of Machu Picchu become almost tangible. The city is more than architecture. It is a dialogue across centuries, a conversation between builders and the world, between human ambition and divine guardianship. The stones, though silent, are the city's voice, conveying wisdom, devotion, and mystery to those patient enough to listen. And so, the secrets buried in stone remain, waiting in quiet persistence. They are a testament to a civilization that revered the earth, honored the mountains, and understood that the greatest power lies not in conquest, but in creation, preservation, and the silent transmission of knowledge across time. Machu Picchu endures because it is more than a city. It is a vault of memory, a sanctuary of intention, and a guardian of secrets that continue to whisper from the stones themselves. The city of Machu Picchu was never just a collection of terraces, temples, and water channels. It was a living stage, designed to host the rhythms of daily life, the movements of the cosmos, and the rituals that bound the Inca people to their gods. Ceremonies here were not merely symbolic. They were acts of communion, performances in which architecture, sunlight, stone, and water converged to create sacred experiences. Every plaza, every temple, every carved niche was positioned to enhance these rituals, to turn the city itself into a participant in spiritual life. The echoes of these ceremonies are still palpable, whispered in the wind and traced in the shadows of the stones. One of the central spaces for ritual activity was the Temple of the Sun. This semicircular structure, carved directly into the rock, served as both a temple and an astronomical observatory. During solstices and equinoxes, sunlight would strike carefully carved niches or pass through windows to illuminate specific stones or ceremonial areas. These events were predictable, precise, and imbued with meaning. Priests and nobles would gather to observe the sun's path, to offer prayers, sacrifices, and offerings of gold, maize, and coca leaves. The temple transformed into a theater of celestial worship, where human devotion intersected with the patterns of the heavens. Other sacred spaces, like the Room of the Three Windows, further illustrate the integration of architecture and ritual. The three windows frame the mountains beyond, aligning not only with the surrounding peaks, but also with the sun's position at key times of the year. This alignment suggests that rituals conducted within the room were designed to synchronize human activity with cosmic events, a reminder that the Inca worldview encompassed both earthly and celestial dimensions. By performing ceremonies in these spaces, the people of Machu Picchu reaffirmed their place in the universe and their relationship with the gods. The Intihuatana stone, often called the hitching post of the sun, is another focal point for ritual. Though small in scale compared to the massive terraces and temples, its spiritual significance is enormous. During solstices, the priests would align themselves with the sun and use the Intihuatana to mark the exact moment of solar zenith. The stone served as a conduit, linking the celestial movements with human ritual. By touching or interacting with it, the priest symbolically tethered the sun to the earth, ensuring balance, prosperity, and divine favor. In this way, the rituals of Machu Picchu were not mere performances. They were acts of cosmic alignment, expressions of a worldview in which the heavens and earth were inseparable. Rituals at Machu Picchu were also tied to the natural cycles of the environment. Planting and harvesting seasons, rainfall, and the appearance of certain stars all dictated ceremonial calendars. Festivals would celebrate fertility, the abundance of crops, or the successful completion of construction projects. Offerings of food, textiles, and gold were carefully placed at ceremonial sites or within niches carved into the stone. These acts were both practical and symbolic, ensuring survival while reinforcing spiritual devotion. The integration of ritual into daily life illustrates the holistic nature of Inca society, where survival, governance, and worship were inseparable. Water played a critical role in these ceremonies. Fountains, channels, and basins were not only functional but sacred, guiding the flow of life and ritual. Priests would direct water as part of purification ceremonies, or offerings would be left in the channels to carry prayers to the mountains. The sound of flowing water amplified chants, rituals, and meditative reflection, creating a multisensory experience. Every element of the city, the stones, the terraces, the water, and the light, participated in ritual, creating an environment in which the divine could be experienced directly. Women played a central role in these sacred practices as well. The Virgins of the Sun, selected for their devotion and purity, were involved in ceremonies that honored Inti, the sun god, and other deities. They participated in dances, chants, and offerings, and in some cases may have resided within special structures designed for spiritual training. Their presence illustrates the social and religious hierarchy embedded in Machu Picchu. Rituals were not performed indiscriminately, but by those initiated into specific spiritual roles. The city was, in effect, a sacred classroom as much as a settlement, teaching devotion, astronomy, and the interconnectedness of life. The plazas themselves were stages for communal ceremonies. These open spaces allowed gatherings of larger groups, facilitating festivals, dances, and seasonal rites. They were positioned strategically, offering views of the surrounding peaks, the rising sun, or the terraces below. The design ensured that participants were constantly reminded of the sacred geography, reinforcing the relationship between human activity and the divine landscape. From the smallest offering to the largest festival, the city became an instrument of ritual, its layout guiding movement, attention, and devotion. Even the smallest carved niches and shrines held deep ritual significance. Some were positioned in areas otherwise used for daily life, suggesting that sacred practice was woven into every aspect of existence. Others were placed in hidden or elevated locations, indicating ceremonies restricted to specific participants or occasions. This careful layering of sacred spaces illustrates the complexity of Inca ritual. It was both public and private, communal and exclusive, earthly and celestial. Machu Picchu functioned as a living calendar and a spiritual instrument, a city in which every act was measured, meaningful, and resonant. The echoes of these rituals remain today, faint yet unmistakable. As wind whistles through terraces, streams flow along carved channels, and sunlight strikes ceremonial stones, visitors sense the presence of countless ceremonies performed centuries ago. It is as if the city itself remembers, replaying the sacred rhythms in subtle ways. Archaeologists and anthropologists continue to study the city, but no map, diagram, or excavation can fully capture the power of these practices. The true essence of Machu Picchu lies in experience, the alignment of architecture, nature, and human devotion. The ceremonial life of Machu Picchu also reinforced social cohesion and hierarchy. By participating in rituals, individuals reaffirmed their roles within the Inca society. Priests, nobles, and chosen women carried out tasks that sustained both spiritual and practical life. Festivals united communities, linking the rhythms of agriculture, astronomy, and governance. Even today, it is clear that the city was not built for leisure or comfort. It was a sacred laboratory, a space in which the people learned to live in harmony with the universe and with each other. Ultimately, the rituals of Machu Picchu reveal a civilization deeply attuned to both the natural and spiritual worlds. Every step on a terrace, every chant, every offering, and every alignment with the sun and mountains reflects a society that understood the inseparability of human and divine life. The city was a living canvas, painted with intention, devotion, and cosmic awareness. Its echoes persist not only in stone but in the feeling of reverence it evokes, reminding all who enter that Machu Picchu was, above all, a city of ceremony, memory, and sacred alignment. The trails leading to Machu Picchu were more than pathways through the mountains. They were journeys of devotion, endurance, and transformation. Known today as the Inca Trail, these routes wind through dense cloud forests, steep ravines, and mist-shrouded peaks, guiding pilgrims, priests, and nobles toward the sacred city. Walking these paths was an act of both physical and spiritual challenge, a rite of passage that prepared travelers for the mysteries and revelations awaiting them above. Every step was deliberate, every turn calculated to heighten anticipation, and every crossing imbued with symbolic meaning. The main trail approaches Machu Picchu from the east, following the ridges of the Andes and crossing high passes that test the endurance of even the most fit. Along the way, travelers would encounter smaller settlements, ceremonial sites, and agricultural terraces, each marking stages of the journey. These spaces were not merely practical. They served as preparation points for the sacred experience ahead. Pilgrims would pause to rest, offer prayers, or perform small rituals, gradually attuning themselves to the spiritual landscape that Machu Picchu represented. By the time they reached the city, the journey itself had already transformed them. The trail was designed to mirror the rhythms of the natural world. Paths often follow the contours of rivers, ascend gradually to higher elevations, and align with key peaks or solstice points. In some cases, the route itself may have been a sacred map, guiding pilgrims along a symbolic journey that mirrored the movements of the sun, the moon, and the stars. The Incas understood that the approach to the city was as important as the city itself. The physical exertion, the anticipation, and the gradual revealing of vistas all heightened the sense of awe and spiritual readiness. Rest stops along the trail were not accidental. Certain stones, terraces, or platforms provided panoramic views of the surrounding mountains, rivers, and valleys, allowing travelers to contemplate the magnitude of the landscape and the city's place within it. These pauses encouraged reflection, meditation, and a growing awareness of the sacred geography. It was a journey that engaged the body, mind, and spirit, preparing pilgrims to enter a city designed as a living temple. Pilgrims were often accompanied by priests or guides who interpreted the natural signs along the route. Birds, clouds, the flow of water, and the position of the sun were read as omens and indicators of spiritual progress. Travelers were not merely moving from one point to another. They were undergoing an education in the sacred language of the Andes. Every bend in the trail, every crossing of a stream, every sudden glimpse of Machu Picchu through the mist was a lesson in observation, devotion, and humility. The journey also reinforced social hierarchy. While nobles and priests led processions along the trail, commoners and laborers followed, each aware of their role in the ritualized pilgrimage. The trail was a stage upon which the structure of Inca society was enacted, visually and experientially reinforcing power, piety, and purpose. The physical endurance required to navigate the trail mirrored the spiritual discipline expected within the city, creating a unified experience of human effort and divine alignment. Several side paths and secondary routes intersected with the main trail, leading to smaller ceremonial platforms, shrines, or observation points. These allowed pilgrims to engage in private rituals, leave offerings, or pause in reflection. Such intersections demonstrate that the trail was a layered experience. It could accommodate large groups while also allowing individual encounters with the sacred. The journey to Machu Picchu was therefore communal and personal, structured yet intimate, physical yet transcendent. The construction of the trail itself was an engineering marvel. Steps carved from stone, retaining walls to stabilize steep slopes, and drainage channels to manage rainfall demonstrate careful planning and labor. Bridges spanned gorges, and switchbacks eased ascents along otherwise impassable cliffs. The trail's durability allowed it to endure centuries of erosion, landslides, and earthquakes, reflecting the Incas' mastery of both nature and construction. It was designed not merely for passage but for safety, reverence, and the unfolding of a sacred experience. As travelers approached Machu Picchu, the city would gradually reveal itself, first glimpsed through breaks in the clouds, then in partial views between ridges, and finally in full panoramic splendor. This orchestrated unveiling heightened the sense of arrival, making the city feel like a revelation rather than a destination. The trail, in essence, was a narrative device, shaping perception and emotion in preparation for the encounter with the sacred space. The final steps onto terraces or into plazas were a culmination of effort, anticipation, and spiritual readiness. The environmental context of the trail also contributed to its sacredness. The cloud forest, with its thick mists, exotic plants, and hidden wildlife, created an otherworldly atmosphere. Sounds carried differently through the valleys, and the changing weather transformed the landscape hourly. Pilgrims would interpret these signs as messages from the gods, or as confirmations of their journey. Every sense was engaged: sight, sound, smell, touch, making the approach to Machu Picchu a total sensory and spiritual immersion. Evidence suggests that the trail was not used solely for religious purposes. Messengers, traders, and workers also traveled its paths, connecting Machu Picchu to the wider Inca Empire. However, the spiritual significance of the main route imbued all travelers with a sense of purpose and reverence. Even practical journeys became acts of ritual, reminding participants that in Inca society, utility and spirituality were inseparable. The trail itself was a sacred space, a liminal zone where the ordinary met the extraordinary. Today, modern hikers retracing the Inca Trail experience echoes of these ancient journeys. The physical challenge remains, as do the dramatic vistas, the sounds of rushing rivers, and the mysterious shrouds of clouds that conceal and reveal the city. Though the original pilgrims sought spiritual communion, the trail still imparts a sense of awe, teaching humility, patience, and respect for the genius of the Incas. Walking the trail is to participate in a centuries-old ritual, feeling the footsteps of countless predecessors while witnessing the timeless dialogue between human effort and the sacred landscape. The Inca Trail reminds us that Machu Picchu was not isolated or accidental. Its significance was amplified by the journey to reach it, and its impact depended on the preparation, reflection, and awe cultivated along the way. Every stone step, every terrace, every hidden shrine along the route contributed to a narrative of pilgrimage, devotion, and spiritual awakening. The trail itself was a guide, a teacher, and a bridge between the mundane and the divine. And so, as mist curls around steep ridges and rivers carve their paths through the valleys, the Inca Trail endures as both a physical and spiritual conduit. It links the world below with the lost city of the Incas, carrying travelers through a landscape alive with history, ritual, and reverence. Each step along the trail is a step into the past, into devotion, and into the heart of a civilization that understood the transformative power of journeying through sacred space. The terraces of Machu Picchu cling to the mountainside like living steps, each one a testament to the ingenuity, patience, and foresight of the Inca people. At first glance, they appear as simple agricultural plots, but a closer look reveals a sophisticated system that transformed steep, rocky slopes into productive land capable of sustaining a city high in the Andes. These terraces were far more than farms. They were experiments in climate, geology, and human resilience, engineered to harness the clouds, the rain, and the sun with astonishing precision. Each terrace consists of layered materials designed for stability and fertility. At the base lies coarse stone, allowing water to drain and preventing landslides. Above this is a layer of sand or gravel that filters water and prevents erosion. Finally, fertile topsoil supports the cultivation of crops. This structure not only stabilizes the mountain but creates a microclimate, moderating temperature and humidity, protecting plants from frost, and maximizing sunlight exposure. The Incas understood that agriculture in such a challenging environment required both engineering skill and deep observation of the natural world. The choice of crops reflects both practicality and adaptation to altitude. Potatoes, maize, quinoa, and other native plants thrived in these terraces, sustaining a population that was entirely dependent on local resources. The Incas carefully selected varieties based on soil type, elevation, and exposure to sunlight, demonstrating a level of agricultural knowledge that rivals modern experimentation. Some terraces were used for trial planting, testing new crop varieties or techniques before wider adoption. In this way, Machu Picchu functioned not just as a city but as a laboratory for agricultural innovation. Water management was central to this system. Channels carved from stone carried rainfall and spring water through the terraces, ensuring even distribution and preventing both drought and erosion. Overflow drains diverted excess water safely down the slopes, protecting both crops and structures. Some channels connected directly to fountains and ceremonial basins, demonstrating the intertwining of practical irrigation and spiritual symbolism. Water was treated with reverence, not simply as a resource but as a living element essential to life, ritual, and balance. The terraces also served a social and political purpose. They demonstrated the power and organization of the Inca state, reflecting the empire's ability to mobilize labor, manage resources, and impose order on the landscape. The terraces were a visual statement of mastery over nature, but also a tool of survival, ensuring food security in a region where subsistence required meticulous planning. They embody the principle that human ingenuity and cooperation can overcome even the most formidable environmental challenges. Some terraces were designed for experimental microclimates. By varying depth, stone composition, and exposure, the Incas could simulate different growing conditions, allowing crops to be cultivated outside their normal altitude or temperature range. This experimentation reflects a sophisticated understanding of ecology and biology. It also underscores the spiritual aspect of agriculture. Cultivation was not merely about survival, but about harmonizing human activity with the rhythms of the mountain, sun, and rain. Each terrace is thus both practical and symbolic, a layered expression of human knowledge and reverence for nature. Terraces were integrated into the urban fabric of Machu Picchu, connecting residential areas, temples, and ceremonial spaces. They created walkable slopes, platforms for observation, and spaces for communal activity. Agricultural productivity was therefore inseparable from daily life and ritual practice. The city's design ensured that sustenance, spirituality, and social cohesion were interwoven, demonstrating the Incas' holistic approach to urban planning. No part of the landscape was accidental. Every stone, every slope, every planting plot was placed with intention. The terraces also tell a story of adaptation and resilience. Machu Picchu sits at an elevation where weather can change suddenly, with frost, rain, and intense sun occurring within hours. By engineering terraces with proper drainage, soil composition, and stone reinforcement, the Incas mitigated these risks, turning potential disaster into opportunity. They treated the mountain as a partner, shaping it while respecting its natural tendencies. In this way, agriculture was not merely a means of survival, it was a dialogue with the land itself, a demonstration of both humility and ingenuity. Crops grown on these terraces were more than food. They were integral to ceremonial life and social structure. Maize, potatoes, and other staples were used in rituals, offerings, and festivals, connecting agricultural success to spiritual practice. The productivity of the terraces ensured that Machu Picchu could host festivals, accommodate pilgrims, and sustain the priests, nobles, and workers who maintained the city. Food, in this context, was a bridge between human necessity and divine favor, another thread in the tapestry of Inca cosmology. The terraces continue to inspire awe today, not only for their practicality but for their beauty. From a distance, they cascade down the mountainside in perfect harmony with the landscape, reflecting sunlight, shadow, and mist. Up close, the precision of stone placement, soil layering, and channeling reveals meticulous craftsmanship. They are living monuments, a fusion of science, art, and spiritual awareness, surviving centuries of abandonment and the encroaching jungle. They embody the principle that human labor, when guided by knowledge and reverence, can create harmony in even the most extreme environments. Archaeological studies of these terraces have revealed much about Inca agricultural methods, but many questions remain. The exact reasoning behind some microclimatic adjustments, the selection of specific stone types, and the arrangement of crops in relation to ritual spaces continues to fascinate scholars. These questions underscore the notion that Machu Picchu was a living, experimental city, where observation, trial, and sacred knowledge intersected to produce both sustenance and spiritual resonance. Ultimately, the terraces of Machu Picchu are more than remnants of ancient agriculture. They are expressions of human intelligence, spiritual devotion, and environmental mastery. They reveal a society capable of harmonizing engineering, ecology, and ritual, creating a city that thrived in the clouds. To walk among them is to witness a civilization that understood the interconnectedness of life, stone, water, and sky, turning mountains into gardens and labor into a sacred conversation with nature. And so, as sunlight illuminates the stepped fields and morning mist drifts through the terraces, one can feel the echoes of generations who labored here. Their work was survival, devotion, and innovation combined. The terraces are alive not only with crops but with the memory of human ingenuity, standing as a testament to a civilization that turned impossible landscapes into living, thriving systems, proof that the lost city of the Incas was built in dialogue with the clouds themselves. The network of roads leading to and from Machu Picchu was not merely a means of travel. It was the lifeblood of the Inca Empire, a web of connection linking remote settlements, ceremonial centers, and the heart of the empire itself. Known collectively as the Capac Nan, these roads stretched thousands of miles across mountains, valleys, and deserts, demonstrating unparalleled ingenuity and organization. Machu Picchu, perched high in the Andes, was connected to this vast network, allowing people, information, and goods to flow despite the region's formidable terrain. These roads were more than practical. They were instruments of power, communication, and control, carefully designed to integrate even the most isolated locations into the Inca world. Constructing these roads was an extraordinary feat. Engineers contended with cliffs, rivers, and dense cloud forests, building stone steps, retaining walls, suspension bridges, and drainage systems to ensure durability and accessibility. Sections of the road were carved directly into mountainsides, following natural contours while remaining stable under heavy rainfall and seismic activity. Bridges, often made from woven grass ropes or stone, spanned deep gorges, allowing messengers, traders, and armies to traverse otherwise impassable areas. The engineering demonstrated not only skill but a deep understanding of geography, hydrology, and human endurance. The roads were critical for communication. Messengers known as chasquis ran relay routes along the Capac Nan, carrying messages, quipus, and goods across vast distances at remarkable speeds. These runners were highly trained, capable of covering incredible distances in a single day, passing information from one relay station to the next. Machu Picchu, though remote, could receive news, instructions, and supplies efficiently because it was part of this interconnected system. The roads transformed mountains into corridors of information, binding the empire together with a network that combined speed, reliability, and secrecy. Control over the roads was a demonstration of political and spiritual authority. Only the Inca state could mobilize the labor and resources required to build and maintain them. They linked administrative centers, storage facilities, and ceremonial sites, ensuring that the emperor's power could be projected across vast distances. Pilgrimages and processions also relied on these roads, allowing priests, nobles, and commoners to move in coordinated patterns, performing rituals that reinforced hierarchy, faith, and social cohesion. The roads themselves were an extension of the empire's ideology, a tangible expression of order imposed upon the landscape. The design of the roads reflected environmental intelligence. Switchbacks eased steep ascents, drainage channels prevented erosion, and stone steps allowed safe passage over treacherous terrain. Some segments were designed with strategic observation points, offering views of approaching travelers or potential threats. Others incorporated ceremonial markers, shrines, or resting platforms, blending practical, spiritual, and social functions. The roads were not neutral conduits. They were integrated into the cultural and ecological fabric of the Andes, balancing utility with symbolism, efficiency with sacred meaning. Machu Picchu's connection to the Capac Nan also facilitated trade and resource distribution. Materials like maize, potatoes, textiles, and tools could move efficiently between highland and lowland regions, supporting the city's population and enabling large-scale rituals. Stone, wood, and other construction materials could be transported with remarkable precision, allowing the builders of Machu Picchu to create terraces, temples, and water channels without disrupting the environment. The roads made possible the logistics that sustained a city in such a remote and challenging location. Strategically, the roads reinforced Machu Picchu's defensive potential. Narrow pathways along cliffs, elevated segments, and concealed approaches made the city difficult to access without guidance. Any visitor, whether friendly or hostile, would be funneled along controlled routes, allowing inhabitants to monitor movement and maintain security. The Inca mastery of terrain and infrastructure ensured that Machu Picchu could remain isolated when necessary, protected by both natural and human-engineered barriers. The roads were simultaneously lifelines and lines of defense. The ceremonial significance of the roads cannot be overstated. Pilgrimages, processions, and ritual journeys followed these paths, aligning travel with the sacred geography of the Andes. Travelers encountered shrines, offerings, and markers along the way, each one reinforcing spiritual awareness and cultural identity. The journey itself became part of the ritual experience, preparing pilgrims for entry into Machu Picchu and connecting distant communities through shared religious and cultural practices. The roads were instruments of devotion as much as infrastructure. Even today, remnants of the Capac near Machu Picchu reveal their enduring brilliance. Stone-paved sections, steps carved into cliffs, and traces of ceremonial markers hint at the sophistication of Inca engineering and the cultural significance of these pathways. Hikers retracing these roads experience firsthand the combination of physical challenge and spiritual resonance that characterized ancient travel. The roads remind us that the Incas conceived of movement, communication, and connection in holistic terms, intertwining landscape, culture, and empire in every step. The integration of Machu Picchu into the Inca road network illustrates the city's dual role as both sacred retreat and functional settlement. It was not an isolated utopia but a carefully positioned node within a sophisticated infrastructure, capable of receiving goods, information, and pilgrims while maintaining spiritual and defensive isolation. The roads ensured that Machu Picchu remained part of the empire while allowing it to function as a place of reflection, ritual, and strategic observation. The sheer scale of the network underscores the ambition of the Inca state. Tens of thousands of laborers would have been mobilized over decades to maintain these routes, ensuring that messengers, pilgrims, and officials could travel efficiently across some of the world's most rugged terrain. The roads are evidence of a civilization capable of large-scale organization, engineering precision, and ecological awareness, all while maintaining reverence for the sacred landscape. In essence, the Inca roads transformed the concept of Machu Picchu from a remote city into a connected, dynamic hub of empire. They facilitated trade, communication, defense, ritual, and pilgrimage, linking the city to the broader Andean world in both practical and spiritual ways. The network embodies a philosophy in which infrastructure is inseparable from culture, governance, and cosmology, demonstrating that the Incas built not only cities but living systems of interaction, devotion, and power. And so, as one walks the ancient stone paths approaching Machu Picchu, it becomes clear that these roads are more than mere passages. They are arteries of history, culture, and spirituality. They carry the echoes of runners, pilgrims, priests, and nobles across centuries, linking the lost city of the Incas to a vast empire that moved with precision, purpose, and devotion. Every stone step is a testament to human ingenuity and the profound understanding that the Incas possessed of their world, both seen and unseen. The engineering of Machu Picchu is a testament to the ingenuity, foresight, and adaptability of the Inca civilization. Unlike the monumental constructions of other ancient empires, which often relied on sheer scale or uniform materials, the Incas built Machu Picchu with a deep understanding of their environment, a mastery of stone, and a vision that merged function with spirituality. Every wall, terrace, and channel was designed to endure earthquakes, heavy rainfall, and the passage of centuries, a precision that continues to baffle modern engineers and archaeologists alike. Perhaps the most striking feature of Machu Picchu's engineering is its masonry. The walls of temples and important structures were constructed using ashlar techniques, in which massive stones are cut and shaped to fit together perfectly without mortar. The precision is astonishing. Some stones are so tightly joined that a knife blade cannot be inserted between them. This method served multiple purposes. It allowed the walls to flex slightly during seismic activity, preventing collapse, while also creating a visually seamless surface that exudes permanence and strength. Each stone was carefully selected for shape, weight, and durability, demonstrating not only technical skill but an intimate understanding of material properties. Even the terraces reflect remarkable engineering foresight. Built in layers of stone, sand, and fertile soil, they serve both agricultural and structural functions. The layers allow water to drain efficiently, preventing erosion while stabilizing the steep mountainside. During heavy rainfall, excess water is funneled through hidden channels, ensuring that crops remain intact and terraces do not collapse. This dual-purpose design, combining food production with mountain stabilization, illustrates the Incas' ability to integrate practicality, sustainability, and resilience into every aspect of the city. Water management throughout Machu Picchu is equally impressive. Natural springs are harnessed through carved stone channels, supplying fountains, terraces, and ceremonial spaces. Engineers accounted for seasonal fluctuations, ensuring that water was available during dry periods and safely diverted during the rainy season. Some channels run underground, hidden from view, demonstrating an understanding of hydraulic principles without the use of modern tools. Water was not only practical, it was symbolic, feeding the spiritual as well as the physical life of the city. Bridges and pathways within and around Machu Picchu further demonstrate Inca ingenuity. Stone staircases navigate impossibly steep inclines, while switchbacks allow safe passage along jagged ridges. Some trails were intentionally narrow or winding to control movement, offering strategic advantages in defense. Suspension bridges, constructed from woven grass ropes, spanned deep gorges, showing an understanding of tensile strength and balance. These features illustrate the Incas' ability to manipulate their environment, transforming treacherous terrain into navigable, sustainable pathways that connected both people and resources. The precision of construction also extended to the alignment of structures with astronomical events. Windows, niches, and temples were positioned to capture sunlight or shadow during solstices and equinoxes, integrating celestial observation into the city's design. These alignments required careful calculation and observation over many years, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. Engineering at Machu Picchu was therefore not solely about stability or function. It was about embedding human activity into the rhythms of the cosmos, creating a city that was both practical and sacred. Even minor details demonstrate meticulous planning. Stones are often slightly inclined or tapered to channel rainwater, prevent erosion, or reinforce stability. Some walls contain small niches or cavities, whose purposes remain debated: storage, ritual, or symbolic markers. Every element, no matter how small, serves multiple functions, blending practicality with ritual significance. The engineers of Machu Picchu treated every stone as a component of a larger, interconnected system, one in which durability, aesthetics, and spirituality were inseparable. Seismic resilience is a particularly remarkable aspect of Inca engineering. Machu Picchu sits in an earthquake-prone region, yet the city has withstood centuries of tremors with minimal damage. The interlocking stones of ashlar walls can move slightly during seismic events without collapsing. Terraces absorb vibrations, and drainage systems prevent water-induced landslides. Modern engineers study these methods to understand how ancient construction can inspire contemporary earthquake-resistant design. The city's survival is not accidental. It is the product of deliberate, informed planning, combined with an intimate knowledge of the mountains themselves. The hidden underground channels further reveal the Incas' mastery of engineering. These conduits carry water quietly beneath terraces and buildings, preserving structural integrity while maintaining aesthetic harmony. Some channels were designed to supply water for ceremonial purposes, while others ensured irrigation or drainage. By embedding functionality within hidden spaces, the Incas achieved a level of sophistication that is still difficult to replicate. The engineering is simultaneously overt and covert, practical and mystical, reflecting a culture that viewed infrastructure as inseparable from spirituality and daily life. Labor organization was also key to the success of Inca engineering. Building Machu Picchu required thousands of workers with specialized skills: stonemasons, laborers, planners, and priests. Projects were coordinated with incredible precision, without written language or modern surveying equipment. Knowledge was transmitted orally, through apprenticeship, and through shared cultural understanding. The result was a city whose construction appears seamless, as though it grew organically from the mountains rather than being imposed upon them. The design of Machu Picchu extends beyond survival to aesthetics and psychological impact. Terraces, plazas, and temples are positioned to create dramatic perspectives, guiding the eye towards sacred peaks, flowing rivers, or the city's central structures. The interplay of light and shadow, the sequence of spaces, and the integration of natural elements suggest an understanding of perception, experience, and emotional resonance. Engineering here is not merely functional. It is a form of storytelling, shaping how inhabitants and visitors move, see, and feel. Even modern studies cannot fully decode all aspects of Inca engineering. Certain construction choices, like the precise angles of terraces, the placement of specific stones, or the orientation of hidden channels, remain puzzling. Some suggest symbolic or ritual reasoning intertwined with practical needs, demonstrating that Inca engineering was as much about meaning as mechanics. Every structure is layered with intention, simultaneously serving survival, ritual, and aesthetic purposes. Machu Picchu's engineering is therefore an embodiment of Inca philosophy, that human activity must harmonize with the natural world, that utility and spirituality can coexist, and that survival is inseparable from devotion. The city is not merely a collection of buildings but a system, dynamic, resilient, and imbued with purpose. Every stone, terrace, and channel demonstrates foresight, patience, and mastery, a legacy that endures as both a historical marvel and a source of inspiration. To walk through Machu Picchu today is to witness the genius of this engineering firsthand. Stones interlock perfectly, terraces support life, water flows without fail, and the city stands resilient against earthquakes and centuries of environmental change. It is a living testament to a civilization that understood the mountains, the materials, and the cosmic rhythms that shaped their world. The lost city of the Incas remains not only a place of mystery but of tangible, enduring brilliance, a silent classroom in engineering, devotion, and harmony. The hidden rituals of Machu Picchu are a window into the intimate and secretive spiritual life of the Inca people, practices often shielded from outsiders and designed to align humans with the rhythms of the cosmos. While the terraces, plazas, and temples reveal public expressions of devotion, scattered throughout the city are spaces that suggest ceremonies of a more private and mysterious nature. These sacred spaces, often tucked into corners, carved into rock faces, or concealed behind terraces, were sites where priests, nobles, and select initiates performed rituals that connected them to both earthly and celestial forces. Some of the most enigmatic hidden spaces are small shrines and niches carved directly into the rock. These spaces were deliberately positioned in areas that were difficult to access, elevated above the city, or oriented toward the peaks surrounding Machu Picchu. The positioning implies that their use was restricted to those with specific spiritual authority or knowledge. Offerings found in these niches, ceramic vessels, small figurines, and remnants of food or coca leaves, indicate ceremonies intended to honor the gods, secure agricultural fertility, or seek protection from natural disasters. The careful selection of location and materials reveals the precision with which these sacred acts were carried out. The Intihuatana stone, already celebrated for its astronomical significance, may also have served as a site for secretive rituals. Some researchers suggest that ceremonies performed at this stone were restricted to high-ranking priests, who used the site to commune with the sun and interpret celestial events for the benefit of the community. During solstices, the stone's shadow could mark critical moments in the solar cycle, guiding agricultural and ritual planning. Its role as a sacred anchor demonstrates how hidden ritual was intertwined with the practical governance of the city, blending devotion with authority and observation. Certain underground channels and drainage systems hint at rituals that involved water as a spiritual conduit. Small fountains, basins, and carved channels may have been used to carry offerings, perform purification ceremonies, or represent the flow of life itself. These spaces, invisible to the uninitiated, created multisensory experiences. The sound of water, the movement of light and shadow, and the tactile engagement with stone all contributed to a ritual atmosphere. Water in these contexts was more than a resource. It was an element of connection, a mediator between the material and spiritual worlds. Other hidden ritual spaces are integrated into terraces and residential areas. Some terraces contain small, carved platforms or depressions whose purpose remains uncertain. They may have been used for offerings, meditation, or ceremonies that required seclusion. These spaces suggest that ritual practice was not confined to monumental temples but was embedded throughout the city, accessible to those with the knowledge and permission to engage with them. The Incas designed their city so that sacred acts could occur both publicly and privately, layering spirituality across space and experience. Some scholars propose that certain ceremonial paths within Machu Picchu were intentionally obscured. Winding stairways, concealed passageways, and narrow corridors may have guided initiates through a series of ritualized steps, creating a journey that mirrored spiritual ascent. The architecture of these spaces emphasizes the process of movement as an element of ritual, requiring patience, attention, and reverence. Each step could represent a symbolic progression, connecting the individual to the divine landscape and reinforcing the sacred hierarchy of knowledge. Artifacts found in hidden spaces reinforce their ceremonial function. Small figurines, ceremonial vessels, and remnants of incense or food have been discovered in niches, terraces, and cave-like areas. Their careful placement suggests intentional offerings meant to maintain balance with the spiritual world, seek protection, or secure favor for the city. Unlike public offerings, which were displayed openly, these artifacts indicate private devotion and rituals restricted to a select few, emphasizing the duality of public and hidden sacred practice within Machu Picchu. The alignment of hidden spaces with the surrounding mountains, peaks, and celestial bodies underscores the Incas' holistic approach to ritual. Even when concealed, these sites maintained visual or symbolic connections to sacred geography. Windows, niches, and open-air spaces framed distant peaks, and some platforms were designed to interact with sunlight during specific times of year. These alignments suggest that secrecy did not mean isolation from the natural or cosmic order. Rather, hidden rituals were fully integrated into the spiritual and astronomical framework of the city. Evidence also suggests that hidden rituals included initiations and ceremonies of transformation. Certain elevated terraces and remote shrines may have been sites for rites of passage, preparation of priests, or instruction in sacred knowledge. The secrecy of these practices protected the sanctity of spiritual authority and ensured that knowledge was transmitted carefully and selectively. Participation in these rituals likely conferred both status and responsibility, reinforcing the social and spiritual hierarchy of Machu Picchu. The hidden spaces of Machu Picchu also preserved continuity of memory. While public ceremonies marked collective experience, secretive rituals ensured that knowledge, devotion, and cosmic awareness were passed down in controlled ways. The careful preservation of these spaces over centuries, despite abandonment and the encroachment of the jungle, suggests that the Incas deliberately protected areas of profound spiritual importance. These spaces were not meant to be destroyed or forgotten. They were meant to endure as vessels of sacred knowledge. Walking through Machu Picchu today, visitors can sense the lingering presence of these hidden rituals. The quiet corners, narrow staircases, and secluded niches evoke the careful choreography of ceremonies long past. The air seems charged with the memory of devotion, the echoes of chants, and the deliberate footsteps of priests and initiates. The city continues to function as a living archive of ritual knowledge, a space where the visible and hidden intertwine, reminding us that spiritual life was layered, intentional, and intimately connected to the landscape. Ultimately, the hidden rituals of Machu Picchu reveal a civilization that understood the necessity of secrecy, reverence, and integration with the natural and cosmic world. Public temples celebrated shared devotion, but private spaces allowed the maintenance of sacred knowledge, the performance of transformative rites, and the careful alignment of human action with divine will. These rituals, though invisible to most, shaped the very character of the city, infusing every stone, terrace, and channel with meaning, purpose, and mystery. In Machu Picchu, the boundaries between the sacred and the concealed blur, and the hidden rituals demonstrate a profound understanding of how secrecy, space, and spiritual power intersect. The city's design ensured that those initiated into its mysteries could engage fully with the divine, experiencing both the awe of public spectacle and the intimacy of secret devotion. It is in these hidden spaces that the essence of Inca spirituality, the combination of observation, reverence, and careful orchestration, reveals itself most clearly. And so, the lost city of the Incas holds its secrets, tucked into niches, terraces, and concealed pathways. The hidden rituals performed here centuries ago remain part of the city's living memory, echoing through stone, water, and shadow. They remind us that Machu Picchu was not only a city of visible grandeur but a carefully layered spiritual environment, where secrecy, devotion, and cosmic alignment converged to create a civilization both brilliant and enigmatic. The abandonment of Machu Picchu remains one of the most haunting mysteries of the Inca civilization, a question that has puzzled historians, archaeologists, and explorers for centuries. Unlike other Inca cities that were destroyed or ravaged during the Spanish conquest, Machu Picchu seems to have been vacated quietly, almost deliberately, leaving the city intact and preserved amid the clouds. No signs of widespread violence, looting, or fire have been found. The terraces remain undisturbed, temples stand in pristine condition, and sacred stones lie exactly where they were placed. The absence of chaos raises a question that lingers in the mind. Why was a thriving city, fully equipped with water, terraces, and ceremonial spaces, suddenly left behind? Several theories attempt to explain the city's abandonment, but none are conclusive. Some scholars suggest that the smallpox epidemic, which swept through the Andes in the early 16th century, may have decimated the local population before the Spanish even arrived. If a significant portion of the community fell ill and died, remaining residents may have been forced to flee, leaving behind the structures they could no longer maintain. This theory aligns with the lack of destruction, suggesting that Machu Picchu was evacuated in haste but without violence. Yet, no mass graves have been conclusively identified, leaving the epidemic hypothesis as plausible but unconfirmed. Other researchers argue that Machu Picchu's function as a ceremonial and royal retreat may have influenced its abandonment. The city was not primarily a defensive fortress or permanent settlement, but a sanctuary for the emperor and the elite. Political upheaval, the death of a ruler, or the shifting focus of the Inca Empire could have rendered the city redundant. If the elite who maintained the rituals and governance of Machu Picchu relocated to other centers, the city may have gradually emptied of inhabitants while remaining structurally intact. The quiet departure would reflect strategic and spiritual considerations rather than crisis or catastrophe. Environmental factors may also have played a role. The Andean region is prone to landslides, earthquakes, and climate fluctuations, which could have made sustained habitation increasingly difficult. While the terraces and drainage systems demonstrate extraordinary engineering, long-term shifts in weather or soil stability may have undermined agricultural productivity. If the city could no longer support its population, residents may have sought more secure or fertile locations. Yet the lack of overt damage suggests that these environmental pressures were not immediate, forcing historians to consider a combination of subtle, gradual factors rather than a single catastrophic event. The sudden disappearance of Machu Picchu's inhabitants has contributed to a sense of mystique and secrecy. The city may have been deliberately hidden from outsiders, its remote location chosen for protection against rivals or invaders. During the Spanish conquest, few knew of its existence, and it does not appear in early colonial records. Its concealment implies a level of strategic foresight, suggesting that the decision to abandon the city could have been as much about preservation as about necessity. Machu Picchu's isolation may have been both its salvation and its undoing, allowing it to survive intact while slowly emptied of life. Some theories venture into the spiritual realm, proposing that Machu Picchu's abandonment was a ritualized act. The city's connection to celestial cycles, sacred peaks, and hidden rituals may have required periodic renewal, or perhaps the site was closed once its spiritual purpose had been fulfilled. Certain ceremonies may have dictated when priests, nobles, or virgins of the sun could reside in the city, creating a pattern of seasonal or temporary habitation. Abandonment in this context would not be an act of loss but a deliberate withdrawal, preserving sanctity and leaving the city as a silent guardian of sacred knowledge. Archaeological evidence reveals partial occupancy up until the early colonial period, suggesting that abandonment was gradual rather than abrupt. Some areas of the city continued to be used intermittently for storage, ceremony, or temporary refuge, while residential sections fell into disuse. The terraces and water channels were maintained sporadically, reflecting a population slowly dwindling rather than vanishing overnight. This pattern supports a combination of social, environmental, and political pressures, woven together with ritual considerations, as the most likely explanation for the city's gradual emptying. The abandonment also raises questions about memory and preservation. By leaving the city largely intact, the Incas may have ensured that Machu Picchu could endure as a sacred site for future generations. Unlike other sites destroyed in warfare, Machu Picchu was preserved, allowing it to maintain its spiritual and practical significance even in absence. The decision to vacate without destruction suggests a civilization that understood the long arc of history, recognizing that some places are meant to endure as monuments, repositories of knowledge, and bridges between human and divine realms. Mystery deepens when considering the city's rediscovery in 1911 by Hiram Bingham. For centuries, Machu Picchu remained hidden in the clouds, untouched by colonial exploitation. Its preservation is remarkable, especially when compared to other Inca cities that were abandoned and looted. The city's survival suggests careful planning, both in its original construction and perhaps in its departure. The question remains, did the Incas anticipate that one day, outsiders would uncover the city, or was its endurance a fortunate accident? Either way, the absence of human intervention preserved the city's secrets, allowing modern scholars and visitors to glimpse a world frozen in time. The enigmatic abandonment of Machu Picchu continues to inspire both awe and speculation. It challenges our understanding of human decision-making, resilience, and the interplay between environment, politics, and spirituality. Each theory, epidemic, environmental, political, or ritual, offers only a partial explanation, emphasizing the complexity of human history and the depth of Inca wisdom. The silence left in the wake of its departure amplifies the city's mystery, transforming it from a mere archaeological site into a living puzzle, inviting questions as compelling today as they were 5 centuries ago. Ultimately, Machu Picchu's abandonment is a story without a definitive ending, a deliberate absence that deepens its allure. The terraces, temples, and hidden spaces stand as witnesses to human ingenuity, devotion, and perhaps a conscious act of preservation. The city, though empty, remains alive in its stones, terraces, and channels, whispering the secrets of a civilization that understood how to harmonize life, death, and eternity. Its abandonment is not simply a historical fact but an enduring enigma, reminding us that some mysteries are preserved as carefully as the structures that hold them. And so, Machu Picchu remains a city suspended between past and present, life and silence, presence and absence. Its quiet abandonment continues to captivate the imagination, offering lessons in foresight, devotion, and resilience. The lost city of the Incas is not only a marvel of architecture and engineering but also a profound testament to a civilization capable of orchestrating its departure with wisdom, secrecy, and enduring reverence for the mountains and skies that cradle it. Machu Picchu has long been shrouded in legends and myths, stories passed down through generations, whispered among local communities, and later amplified by explorers and historians. These tales transform the city from a mere archaeological site into a living symbol of mystery, spirituality, and human ingenuity. Some stories speak of hidden treasures, secret tunnels, and lost knowledge, while others recount divine intervention, sacred beings, or the city's creation by gods or demigods. In every case, the myths surrounding Machu Picchu reflect the human desire to explain the extraordinary, blending history with imagination, fact with reverence. Among the most enduring legends is that Machu Picchu was a refuge for the last Inca ruler, Pachacuti, or a hidden citadel reserved for nobility. According to this tale, the city was intentionally concealed in the mountains to protect sacred knowledge, treasure, and elite families from external threats, particularly the Spanish conquistadors. The isolation of the site, the precision of its construction, and its strategic vantage points lend credence to this theory. As the mist rises along the terraces and channels, it is easy to imagine cloaked figures moving silently through stone corridors, guarding treasures and secrets from the outside world. Another popular myth suggests that Machu Picchu was built by the gods themselves or by a lost civilization with advanced knowledge. Some versions describe giants shaping the stones, while others claim that the city appeared overnight, perfectly constructed as if by divine hands. These stories often emphasize the impossibility of the city's construction using the technology and tools available at the time, attributing its creation to supernatural forces. While modern archaeology explains the engineering through ingenuity and labor, the myths persist because they capture the awe and wonder inspired by Machu Picchu, preserving a sense of the miraculous. Local folklore also recounts tales of hidden tunnels and secret chambers beneath the city. Some believe that these passages connect Machu Picchu to distant Inca centers, or that they conceal treasures, sacred artifacts, or ceremonial spaces unknown to outsiders. Explorers and adventurers, captivated by these stories, have searched for hidden doors or passages, often encountering nothing but stone and shadow. Yet the persistence of these legends speaks to the city's layered reality. Its visible structures are only one aspect of a broader, more enigmatic spiritual and cultural landscape. Legends of celestial alignment and mystical energy permeate stories of Machu Picchu. The city's precise orientation with the sun, moon, and surrounding mountains has inspired beliefs that the site was designed to harness cosmic forces. Some myths suggest that rituals performed here could influence the weather, agricultural cycles, or the flow of rivers. Others describe the terraces as channels for spiritual energy, connecting the earth to the heavens. These tales reflect the Incas' profound connection to nature and the cosmos, interpreted through the lens of imagination and reverence by successive generations. The legend of the Virgins of the Sun also contributes to Machu Picchu's mystique. According to myth, these women were chosen for their purity and devotion, living in seclusion while performing sacred rituals and prayers for the empire. Some stories suggest that their presence imbued the city with spiritual protection and maintained the favor of the gods. While historical evidence confirms that priestesses and selected women played important roles in Inca religious life, the myths often amplify their influence, portraying them as guardians of the city's spiritual and material wealth, capable of wielding unseen power. Some myths incorporate warnings and omens, cautioning against disturbing Machu Picchu or seeking its hidden treasures. Locals tell of spirits that guard the city, punishing intruders or guiding worthy seekers. These stories may have roots in practical advice, discouraging looting or reckless exploration, but they also contribute to the city's aura of sacredness and mystery. Travelers often report feeling a sense of reverence, awe, or even unease while walking the terraces or ascending the stairways, as if the legends themselves linger in the air, shaping perception and experience. The blending of history and myth is particularly evident in tales of Machu Picchu's discovery. While Hiram Bingham is credited with bringing the site to international attention in 1911, local farmers and communities knew of its existence for generations. Legends describe hidden pathways, secret markers, and ancestral knowledge passed down orally, preserving the memory of the city long after it was abandoned. These stories highlight the continuity of cultural memory and the role of myth in maintaining the identity and heritage of the region, ensuring that Machu Picchu remained a living presence in the consciousness of local people. Mystical interpretations often extend to the city's natural surroundings. Mountains, rivers, and forests are imbued with personality and power, acting as guardians or participants in the city's spiritual life. Legends describe peaks as sentient beings, watching over Machu Picchu and interacting with its inhabitants. Clouds and mist are seen not as weather phenomena, but as spiritual veils, revealing or concealing the city according to the whims of the gods. This personification of nature reflects the Inca worldview, in which humans, animals, and landscapes are deeply interconnected, and it continues to shape modern perceptions of the city. Some myths also emphasize the city's role as a repository of knowledge. Tales suggest that Machu Picchu housed sacred texts, astronomical records, or teachings about agriculture, medicine, and governance. Hidden chambers, secret niches, and obscure pathways are often imagined as storage sites for this wisdom, protected from outsiders until the time was right. While no evidence has been found to confirm these claims, the persistence of these legends underscores the perception of Machu Picchu as a center of both power and learning, a place where knowledge and spirituality converge. The stories surrounding Machu Picchu, whether grounded in historical fact or fantastical imagination, share common themes. Secrecy, protection, divine influence, and human ingenuity. They reflect a deep awareness of the city's extraordinary nature, inspiring awe, curiosity, and reverence. Even today, visitors and scholars alike are drawn not only to the physical beauty and engineering marvels of Machu Picchu, but to the legends that transform the site into a living tapestry of culture, spirituality, and mystery. Ultimately, the myths of Machu Picchu reveal as much about the people who tell them as about the city itself. They are expressions of wonder, devotion, and cultural memory, preserving a sense of the sacred and extraordinary. The city, in turn, sustains these stories, feeding imagination and inquiry across centuries. Machu Picchu becomes not just a place of stone and terrace, but a symbol, a narrative, and a spiritual presence that transcends time, reminding us that some mysteries are best experienced through both observation and imagination. And so, Machu Picchu endures as a city of legend, a place where history and myth intertwine, where the past speaks in whispers through terraces, stones, and mist. Its stories remind us that human perception is as powerful as human construction, and that the lost city of the Incas remains not only a marvel of engineering and ingenuity, but a timeless repository of myth, wonder, and the mysteries of the human spirit. The archaeological exploration of Machu Picchu has been a journey into both discovery and controversy, a process marked by remarkable findings, spirited debate, and the persistent tension between science and speculation. While the site has captivated explorers and scholars since its rediscovery by Hiram Bingham in 1911, much of what is known today has been shaped by decades of excavations, surveys, and analysis, as well as by conflicting interpretations of the evidence. Machu Picchu is not merely a city frozen in time. It is a living archaeological puzzle, with each terrace, wall, and artifact contributing to an ongoing conversation about its purpose, history, and the people who built it. Bingham's expeditions brought international attention to Machu Picchu, documenting its architecture, terraces, and surrounding landscape. He was struck by the city's preservation and the ingenuity of its construction, and his initial interpretations framed it as a lost city of the Incas. However, Bingham's work also sparked controversy. Many scholars argue that he overstated the notion of Machu Picchu as a singularly monumental site, emphasizing its connection to royal retreats while downplaying evidence of broader regional significance. Some contend that his approach reflected the romanticized view of the Andes common in early 20th century archaeology, blending adventure with selective interpretation. Subsequent excavations have revealed that Machu Picchu was a complex city with multiple layers of occupation and usage. Artifacts ranging from ceramic vessels and tools to ritual objects suggest that the city was both residential and ceremonial. However, the interpretation of these findings is not always straightforward. For example, some terraces once thought purely agricultural may have had dual purposes, serving as both food production areas and ritualized spaces. Similarly, stone niches and minor shrines could indicate domestic, administrative, or spiritual functions. Archaeologists continue to debate the balance of these uses, illustrating how Machu Picchu resists singular explanations. One area of contention involves the extent of human modification of the surrounding landscape. Some researchers argue that terraces, channels, and trails represent carefully orchestrated manipulation of nature, while others emphasize the city's integration with its natural surroundings. The debate centers on whether Machu Picchu is primarily a triumph over the environment or a model of ecological harmony. Evidence of soil layering, drainage systems, and microclimatic experimentation supports the idea of deliberate engineering, but the city's preservation also suggests that the Incas respected and adapted to existing topography rather than imposing it entirely. Human remains discovered at the site have added both insight and controversy. Skeletons indicate the presence of nobles, priests, laborers, and possibly pilgrims, reflecting the diversity of Machu Picchu's population. Analysis of bones has revealed information about diet, health, and social status, but ethical and methodological questions arise regarding the treatment and interpretation of human remains. The placement of burials in relation to sacred spaces suggests ritual considerations, Yet the full extent of these practices remains uncertain. Each new discovery can either clarify or complicate our understanding, illustrating the delicate balance between science and speculation. Artifacts themselves have provoked debate. Ceramics, textiles, and metalwork provide evidence of daily life, trade, and ritual, but their interpretation is often subjective. Some scholars emphasize stylistic analysis to trace cultural influences, while others focus on functional aspects. The presence of foreign materials or designs has fueled discussions about trade networks, cultural exchange, and the reach of Inca influence. Each object tells a story, yet the narratives are filtered through the lens of modern interpretation, often revealing as much about contemporary scholars as about the ancient inhabitants. Excavation methods have also been a source of controversy. Early digs often prioritized rapid documentation over preservation, sometimes disturbing contexts and removing artifacts to foreign institutions. Bingham, for example, transported hundreds of artifacts to Yale University, sparking decades of legal and ethical disputes with Peru over ownership, stewardship, and cultural heritage. These controversies highlight broader questions about the role of archaeology in the modern world. Who has the right to interpret and possess the past, and how should discoveries be shared with the public and descendants of the civilization that created them? Recent technological advances, such as ground-penetrating radar, 3D mapping, and LiDAR, have revolutionized archaeological study at Machu Picchu, revealing features that are invisible to the naked eye. Hidden terraces, previously unknown channels, and subtle alignments have been documented, suggesting an even greater level of sophistication than early excavations indicated. These discoveries have prompted reinterpretation of the city's organization, its relationship to the surrounding landscape, and the scale of labor and planning involved. Yet even with these tools, the city continues to yield only partial answers, maintaining its aura of mystery. One of the most debated topics concerns the original function of Machu Picchu. Was it primarily a royal estate, a religious center, a military outpost, or a combination of all three? Different areas of the city, from ceremonial plazas to residential quarters, provide evidence for multiple functions. Scholars have proposed models based on elite habitation, pilgrimage routes, and astronomical observation, but no single theory fully accounts for the site's complexity. This ambiguity is a central element of Machu Picchu's allure. It resists reduction to a simple narrative, encouraging exploration, interpretation, and ongoing debate. The interaction between archaeology and local knowledge has become increasingly important in recent decades. Indigenous communities maintain oral histories, place names, and legends that complement material evidence. Collaboration between scientists and local custodians has led to more nuanced interpretations of Machu Picchu, balancing empirical study with cultural memory. This approach has also emphasized the ethical responsibility of archaeologists to respect living traditions while pursuing research, acknowledging that the city's meaning extends beyond stone and artifact into the realm of identity, spirituality, and continuity. Some discoveries have challenged long-held assumptions. For instance, evidence of extensive agricultural experimentation, water management, and engineering complexity suggests that Machu Picchu was not merely a picturesque retreat, but a functional, highly organized hub. Similarly, patterns of occupation indicate that the city may have supported a larger population than previously thought, with laborers, priests, and pilgrims maintaining daily life and ritual. These findings complicate simplistic portrayals and underscore the dynamic, multifaceted nature of the city. Controversy continues to surround preservation versus access. The influx of tourists has introduced wear and tear on terraces, trails, and structures, forcing debates over how best to protect the site. Archaeologists, conservationists, and government authorities grapple with balancing research, education, and public engagement, raising questions about the long-term sustainability of both the city and its interpretive frameworks. Preservation efforts also influence archaeological interpretation, as excavations must consider potential impact on the physical and spiritual integrity of Machu Picchu. Ultimately, the archaeological exploration of Machu Picchu is a story of discovery, debate, and reverence. Every artifact, wall, terrace, and niche contributes to a larger understanding, yet each also raises new questions. The city defies simple classification, demanding an approach that integrates empirical research, local knowledge, ethical consideration, and an appreciation for its enduring mystery. Machu Picchu is simultaneously an archaeological treasure, a site of legend, and a living puzzle, revealing the ingenuity, devotion, and complexity of the Inca civilization while preserving questions that may never be fully answered. Machu Picchu's archaeological legacy, therefore, is not confined to its material remains. It lies in the ongoing conversation between past and present, between the stones of the terraces and the minds of those who study them. It is in the debates over interpretation, the controversies of preservation, and the thrill of each new discovery. The city continues to challenge assumptions, inspire wonder, and provoke curiosity, reminding us that archaeology is not merely about uncovering what was, but about engaging with the mysteries that endure. Machu Picchu today is far more than an archaeological site. It is a global icon, a symbol of mystery, human ingenuity, and the enduring allure of the ancient world. Since its international rediscovery in 1911, the city has captured the imagination of millions, appearing in travel documentaries, literature, films, and countless photographs. Its image, mist-shrouded terraces clinging to the Andes, temples aligned with the sun, and peaks rising dramatically in the background, evokes awe and curiosity, blending history, spirituality, and natural beauty into a single, unforgettable vision. The city's resonance in modern culture reflects both its tangible achievements and the intangible myths and legends that surround it. Tourism has transformed Machu Picchu into one of the most visited sites in South America, attracting hundreds of thousands of visitors annually. Travelers come not only to witness the engineering marvels and panoramic landscapes, but also to experience the aura of mystery that permeates every stone and terrace. For many, visiting Machu Picchu is a journey of personal discovery, an encounter with a civilization that seemed impossibly sophisticated, yet deeply connected to its environment and spiritual beliefs. The act of walking the ancient terraces or ascending stairways carved into the mountainside allows visitors to feel, if only partially, the presence of those who inhabited the city centuries ago. Modern culture has embraced Machu Picchu in myriad ways. It has become a symbol of national pride for Peru, appearing on currency, stamps, and official emblems, representing both heritage and achievement. Internationally, it is a shorthand for adventure, history, and human ingenuity, inspiring books, documentaries, and artworks. Machu Picchu's presence in media often emphasizes its mystical qualities, the clouds, the terraces, and the dramatic peaks, reinforcing the sense that the city is a liminal space, suspended between the earthly and the divine, the past and the present. The influx of tourism has brought both opportunities and challenges. Economically, Machu Picchu has become a lifeline for local communities, supporting guides, porters, artisans, and small businesses. The site also provides global visibility for the preservation of Inca culture, encouraging educational initiatives and research. Yet the very popularity that sustains these benefits poses risks to the city's fragile structures. Heavy foot traffic can erode terraces, steps, and trails, while exposure to weather and human activity accelerates deterioration. Managing these tensions between access and preservation is an ongoing challenge for authorities, archaeologists, and conservationists. Efforts to protect Machu Picchu include visitor limits, controlled access routes, and restoration projects that balance safety, authenticity, and aesthetic preservation. UNESCO has designated Machu Picchu as a World Heritage Site, highlighting its cultural and natural significance and reinforcing the global responsibility to safeguard it. Despite these measures, debates persist over sustainable tourism. How to ensure that the city remains accessible to those who seek inspiration while preventing damage to the very structures that make it extraordinary. These tensions mirror the delicate balance the Incas themselves achieved, harmonizing human habitation with the rugged landscape. Modern cultural narratives often emphasize the mystery of Machu Picchu. Films, novels, and documentaries highlight unanswered questions about the city's construction, purpose, and abandonment, framing it as a puzzle to be solved. This framing continues a long tradition of fascination, where the line between history and legend blurs. The romanticization of the site can obscure scientific understanding but also contributes to its mythic resonance, making it a place where imagination, scholarship, and spirituality intersect. Visitors are invited not only to observe but to speculate, to wonder, and to become part of the ongoing story of the lost city of the Incas. The spiritual significance of Machu Picchu endures in modern consciousness. Many travelers report a profound sense of awe or emotional resonance, a feeling that the city's energy, its alignment with the mountains, and its sacred spaces remain alive. Meditation, contemplation, and ritual are practiced by some visitors, often inspired by Inca traditions or by personal spiritual exploration. Machu Picchu functions as a modern pilgrimage site, where individuals seek connection with history, nature, or the divine. This spiritual engagement echoes the original intentions of the city, where sacred geography and human activity were deeply intertwined. Art and literature have also absorbed Machu Picchu into contemporary culture. Painters, photographers, and writers draw inspiration from the city's terraces, temples, and surrounding peaks, creating works that interpret its geometry, atmosphere, and symbolism. Music and performance art sometimes incorporate Machu Picchu's imagery or history, reflecting the interplay between culture, memory, and imagination. In these interpretations, Machu Picchu is not merely a historical site, but a source of creative energy, inspiring reflection, emotion, and innovation. Education and research have flourished alongside tourism. Universities, archaeological institutes, and cultural organizations conduct studies on the city's engineering, agriculture, astronomy, and social organization. These efforts not only deepen understanding of Machu Picchu's historical significance but also provide a platform for discussing broader questions about sustainability, heritage management, and the ethical treatment of cultural sites. Modern scholarship emphasizes collaboration with local communities, integrating oral histories, traditional knowledge, and archaeological evidence to create a richer, more nuanced picture of the city. The popularity of Machu Picchu has also shaped global perceptions of the Inca civilization. It is often presented as the pinnacle of Andean achievement, a testament to ingenuity, adaptability, and spirituality. This narrative fosters admiration and curiosity but also risks oversimplification, reducing a complex civilization to a single iconic site. Responsible interpretation balances reverence with critical understanding, highlighting both the extraordinary achievements and the broader historical and cultural context in which they occurred. Machu Picchu's role in tourism and modern culture underscores the tension between access and preservation, legend and scholarship, spectacle and understanding. It is a place that invites exploration while demanding respect, imagination while requiring careful interpretation. Visitors engage with the city on multiple levels. As observers of ancient engineering, participants in spiritual reflection, and witnesses to one of humanity's most remarkable architectural achievements. Ultimately, Machu Picchu in modern culture exemplifies the enduring power of history to inspire, challenge, and connect. It is a bridge between past and present, a site where human ingenuity, spiritual devotion, and natural beauty converge, inviting reflection on our own place in the world. The terraces, temples, and sacred stones continue to tell their story, not only of the lost city of the Incas, but of the ongoing human fascination with mystery, achievement, and the extraordinary. Walking through Machu Picchu today, amidst tourists, guides, and scholars, one can still feel the echoes of the past. The labor of thousands, the prayers of priests, the quiet rituals performed in hidden niches, and the awe inspired by the mountains. The city remains alive in memory, imagination, and culture, a testament to a civilization that continues to shape human curiosity and wonder across centuries and continents. Machu Picchu stands today as both a treasure of human achievement and a fragile witness to history, and its preservation presents one of the most complex conservation challenges in the world. The site faces constant pressure from environmental forces. Heavy rainfall triggers landslides, erosion threatens terraces, and the high-altitude climate slowly wears away stone structures. Seasonal floods can destabilize water channels, while earthquakes, an ever-present risk in the Andes, pose a potential threat to the city's meticulously balanced architecture. Even minor damage can have long-term consequences, making proactive preservation a constant necessity rather than a one-time effort. Human activity adds another layer of complexity. Each year, hundreds of thousands of tourists traverse the terraces, climb stairways, and explore temples. Foot traffic erodes pathways, accelerates wear on stone surfaces, and sometimes disturbs archaeological contexts. While tourism sustains local economies and fosters global appreciation for Inca heritage, it also risks damaging the very site that draws visitors. Balancing public access with protection has led authorities to implement visitor limits, timed entry, and guided route systems. Yet these measures remain a delicate negotiation between experience and preservation. Conservation is not only about protecting structures but also maintaining Machu Picchu's broader landscape. The terraces, water channels, and surrounding flora are integral to the city's ecological and historical integrity. Deforestation, invasive species, and agricultural encroachment in nearby areas threaten the balance of the ecosystem that supports the city's terraces and natural drainage. Preservation efforts, therefore, must extend beyond stone walls to encompass the entire environment, recognizing Machu Picchu as an interconnected system of culture, engineering, and nature. Global responsibility plays a central role in conservation. UNESCO World Heritage designation emphasizes collective stewardship, encouraging international collaboration, funding, and research. Scholars, engineers, and conservationists from around the world contribute expertise in structural stabilization, erosion control, and sustainable tourism. Yet the ultimate custodians remain local authorities and communities, whose involvement ensures that preservation respects cultural context, traditional knowledge, and ethical stewardship. The challenges are ongoing, and every decision carries weight. Conservation at Machu Picchu is not merely about maintaining a tourist site. It is about safeguarding a symbol of human ingenuity, spiritual devotion, and ecological harmony. Protecting the lost city of the Incas requires vigilance, innovation, and a recognition that its preservation is a shared responsibility, one that transcends borders, generations, and disciplines, ensuring that the awe-inspiring legacy of Machu Picchu endures for centuries to come. The future of Machu Picchu is intertwined with questions of cultural legacy, environmental stewardship, and the evolving relationship between humanity and history. As one of the most iconic archaeological sites on the planet, it carries the weight of centuries of ingenuity, devotion, and mystery, and the responsibility to preserve it falls on both local communities and the global community. Protecting Machu Picchu means more than maintaining stone terraces and temples. It requires safeguarding the intangible heritage, the stories, myths, rituals, and knowledge that imbue the city with its extraordinary meaning. Sustainable tourism will play a critical role in shaping the city's future. Visitor numbers must be carefully managed to prevent damage, while ensuring that people from around the world can continue to experience the awe and inspiration the site evokes. Education and engagement are key, allowing travelers to understand not only the architectural and engineering marvels but also the spiritual and cultural context of the Inca civilization. By cultivating respect alongside fascination, Machu Picchu can remain both accessible and preserved. Scientific research and technological innovation will continue to inform conservation strategies. Advanced mapping, structural monitoring, and environmental modeling help anticipate risks from erosion, rainfall, and seismic activity. Collaborative projects that integrate archaeology, ecology, and local knowledge offer new ways to maintain the site's integrity while deepening understanding of Inca engineering, agriculture, and ritual life. Each discovery contributes to a richer, more nuanced appreciation of Machu Picchu, ensuring that preservation is both informed and respectful. Beyond physical preservation, Machu Picchu's future depends on cultural continuity. Indigenous knowledge, oral traditions, and community stewardship provide a living connection to the past, reminding the world that the city is not a static monument but a dynamic symbol of human creativity and spirituality. By honoring these voices and integrating them into conservation efforts, Machu Picchu can remain a bridge between past and present, inspiring future generations to value both heritage and responsibility. Ultimately, Machu Picchu's enduring legacy will be measured not just by its stones or terraces, but by the awareness, care, and reverence we bring to it. The lost city of the Incas stands as a testament to human potential, a reminder that our relationship with history is both fragile and profound, and that preserving it requires vision, respect, and collective commitment. Machu Picchu leaves its visitors with more than awe at its terraces, temples, and engineering marvels. It leaves a lingering sense of wonder, mystery, and reflection. Walking among its stone walls, ascending its stairways, and gazing out at the surrounding peaks, one cannot help but feel connected to the people who built it, to the rituals performed in hidden niches, and to the choices that led to its quiet abandonment. The city embodies both human genius and the profound mysteries that continue to defy explanation, reminding us that history is as much about what we do not know as what we can see and touch. The emotional impact of Machu Picchu is inseparable from its mystery. It invites contemplation of time, impermanence, and human endeavor. The city's survival against natural decay, abandonment, and centuries of obscurity speaks to a civilization that understood harmony with its environment, precision in engineering, and reverence for the sacred. Standing among the terraces, one can sense the echoes of life that once thrived here. The prayers, labors, and ceremonies that infused every stone with purpose. This lingering presence transforms Machu Picchu from a historical site into a timeless experience, connecting past and present in ways that are both tangible and intangible. Machu Picchu also challenges us to reflect on our relationship with history and heritage. Its preservation depends on awareness, respect, and care, not only from local authorities, but from the global community. The site's mysteries, legends, and engineering brilliance remind us that human potential is vast, but fragile. It encourages humility, reverence, and responsibility, prompting visitors to consider the long-term impact of their actions on the cultural and natural world. In the end, Machu Picchu is more than a city of stone. It is a living testament to human creativity, resilience, and spiritual depth. Its terraces, hidden niches, and ceremonial spaces continue to inspire, challenge, and captivate. The lost city of the Incas reminds us that some secrets endure, shaping our understanding of history, our imagination, and our appreciation for the extraordinary achievements of those who came before. It leaves us with a question that lingers long after we depart. What if the mysteries of Machu Picchu change how we see the past and ourselves?